After a nice West Coast road trip, the Jumbos are back from spring break and ready to kick off conference play in just a couple of short days. But before that, one more non-conference matchup against the Umass Boston Beacons. Jumbos have yet to lose a matchup against the Beacons in their short couple of year history. So we'll see if that record stays again here. Welcome, everybody, to Division III Baseball presented to you by JumboCast. My name is Andrew Howe. I'm joined alongside Riley Daniel and Nick Dorr for coverage of one of the last non-conference games before NESCAC Conference tournament play kicks off. The Jumbos headed on the road in just a couple of days, spend the weekend starting off their conference play. Riley, Jumbos, a 4-4 trip in California, including some victories over some ranked opponents, but coming back here, wanting to make sure their record stays above 500.
Yeah, they do, and I think it's very similar to the spot they found themselves in at this point last year. One game over 500. This was the exact moment coming back from the California trip with a couple of big wins, a couple of questionable losses, where they really took off, won 8 straight to start NESCAC play, and really cemented themselves as the team to beat in the NESCAC East. Here, we see a very similar team in one that has shown they have the ability to give themselves opportunities, but have struggled to execute, leaving ridiculous numbers of runners on base. Thinking about 16 in that Laverne game, 13 last time they were here against East Connecticut State. Those are not numbers that are sustainable. They've shown they can get runners on base. They're going to have to be able to knock them in if they want to compete at the top of the NESCAC.
And on the other side, UMass Boston, of course, always a contender in that Little East Conference. However, Eastern Connecticut State always being a big factor up there. But, Nick, this time around, they're also sitting around 500, 8-7 coming into today. And another team that is looking for one last tune-up before another weekend series starting off their conference play.
Yeah, for sure. This was a team that we saw get really hot in 2017, 18, and 19. They made College World Series appearances. They won the Little East Conference, but have since slowed down a little bit. Look for them today to really see if they can control runaway innings from the Jumbos. We know when the Jumbos get hot that it's really hard to shut them down, and that's something they've struggled with in the last couple of weeks. In the Linfield game, they gave up 5 runs in the 8th inning, and in the Johnson and Wales game, they gave up 2 runs in the 7th, 2 runs in the 8th. Both of those innings have been problematic. Look to them to really see if they can keep their momentum going towards the end of the game.
All toeing the slab here for the Jumbos. Michael O'Brien making his 3rd start of his young collegiate career. O'Brien was here the last time the Jumbos were at Gittleman, pitched 4 innings against MIT, gave up a couple of runs as he got around the 2nd and 3rd times in the order. 1-1 count to the leadoff hitter, Justin Gavea. He's called for a strike and quickly going to 1-2. One of the top hitters here for the Beacons so far this season. Gavea with over a 1,000 OPS as he fouls that one down the right field line.
Yeah, O'Brien has that almost, I like to call it the Tanner Houck effect, where he's so solid first time through the lineup, but each time he goes through the lineup has struggled. We'll see how long Coach Factus wants to keep him in today.
The 1-2. Just on that outside corner. The count goes even.
Justin Gavea, a sophomore from Dartmouth, Massachusetts.
The 2-2 just outside, going to a full count. Gavea very strong in terms of contact, hitting .333 on the season. Also has some power with the .603 slugging. Has a hit in every game except for one, and that one was against Endicott, who are ranked number 3 in the country. The payoff pitch just outside. O'Brien was trying to get him to bite. Same place for the last 3 pitches, and it looks like Gavea is going to work a leadoff walk.
Same spot, but different pitches. Went fastball, then went off speed, try to get him to bite, then try to put the fastball on the outside corner, just couldn't quite locate it.
Here's Boston Burris, the senior out of Highland, Texas. UMass Dartmouth losing a lot of their infield power from 2023. And Burris is one of those names that has stepped up in a big way, hitting .304 so far in this early season.
Yeah, UMass, they're a pretty young squad on the infield. We'll see how that plays out today, and I think that definitely will play out when it gets to the later aspects of games and, of course, the later aspect of their season, where they're really going to rely on some of that experience on the squads, a lot of which they don't have this year.
Gavea leads off of first. The breaking ball falls in there for a strike.
That was a real nice pitch there from O'Brien. had me fooled completely.
Yeah, definitely started high and then dropped just inside that strike zone.
Burris, one of the few players on UMass Boston to have reached base in every game the Beacons have played so far this year. The 1-1 in the dirt. Gavea thought about it, and Malcolm Whitfield behind the plate makes a quick attempt over to first base to keep the runner there.
Yeah, definitely think O'Brien saw something in the scouting report on Burris. That's 3 pitches, all of which have been off speed to start off to the Beacons 2-hitter.
2 balls, 1 strike. We're early on in this game between Tufts and UMass Boston. O'Brien checks over to first base. Gavea, 7 stolen bases, has been caught twice so far this year.
Burris is missing the home run this season so far. Can he rectify that?
Chopper over to third base. Going to be a tough play for Solomon, and he's not going to have anyone. Bobbles it on his way in. Gavea moves over to second, and Boston Burris gets on for the first 2 base runners of this first.
We'll see how they score that. I didn't think Solomon was getting there, even if he got that cleanly. It was so slowly hit. And they do call it a single.
So another game with Boston Burris reaching base safely. Does it for early in this first inning. And now Michael O'Brien's going to have to work out of some trouble.
Brings up number 9, Aiden Blake, a sophomore outfielder from Lakeville, Massachusetts.
Showing bunt.
First pitch in there for a strike. Just to work the corners in. Blake not expected to bunt. Number 3 hitter. Dominant so far this season. A 1.2 OPS. All LEC first team last season.
Batting .346 this season at the moment. Over 52 at-bats.
The umpires called that time, Andrew.
Not entirely sure what happened over there.
I think if I judged it right, they told, I can't see which UMass Boston coach it was, but they told him he needs to be in the box.
Which he still isn't.
The 0-1 is lined into right to left field. That's going to be a base hit. Fielding it is McKiernan. Coming home is Gavea to throw over to Whitfield. Not in time, and all of a sudden, they've got Blake caught in a rundown. You see Burris going over to third. They tag Blake over at first base. Our out will be recorded, but it's an RBI single for Aiden Blake, and the Beacons lead 1-0.
I want to give a lot of props there to Tyler Wong. Really smart. He realized that because the Jumbos had run a cut through Ozzie Fleischer, there was no one to back up second base, and he could not throw that ball. Had to try and make the tag himself, which he was able to do.
That would be Blake's 16th RBI of this season.
And Jumbo's not out of it just yet. They have the infield in for the number 4 hitter, Brandon Gear.
Gear, a freshman from Connecticut. Been more of a lead hitter for them. He's got 44 at-bats, batting .318 this season.
Gear spending some time at catcher alongside Mike Meager, who is behind the plate today. They've been platooning between the DH and the catcher position. The 1-1, just outside. The count goes to 2-1.
Right now, O'Brien does not strike me as a pitcher who has a lot of confidence in his fastball.
The off-speed has been working for him. We saw him use it to success against MIT. But so far, has to work out of some trouble. Grounder sharply to third. Solomon, another bobble. Thought about throwing home, and instead, the double pump results in nobody recording an out. Gear's going to reach first. That'll be Burris coming home to score, and quickly 2 runs on the board for UMass Boston.
Brings up the other catcher, Mike Meager.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was such a bang-bang play. I thought for a second Solomon had a play at the plate, but in that moment, you got to wonder just, do you take the out, especially it being the first inning?
I mean, a little bit of a bobble, too, in his hand makes it a little more difficult, makes that decision need to happen a little bit faster, and makes him a little more flustered.
Solomon's been such a strong defender over at third base, and 2 fumbles early on in this first inning. They rule that one in E5. And doesn't make Michael O'Brien's job any easier as Mike Meeker fouls that one off.
Look for him to put one up and away here. He's put the first 2 inside on Meager.
Gear leads off of first. The 0-2 fly ball into deep right field. Malachi Pena going to settle under that and make the play for out number 2.
Good from the Jumbos, you know, stop the momentum from getting anywhere out of hand for the Beacons. And it's just reset as we head into what they hope will be their third out.
Gear still remaining on first base. That'll bring up the shortstop, Elliott Miles, freshman out of Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Batting .236 this season with 51 at-bats.
Miles taking the spot of Gianni Zerilli, who was a very strong player for the Beacons over the past couple of seasons. Has a lot of speed, has yet to show too much with the bat, hitting .236 without a ton of power. 4 for 21 over his last 6 games.
Yeah, O'Brien went to check on Gear there. Gear, incidentally, has not attempted a stolen base. One of very few, actually the only consistent starter on the Beacons not to have tried to swipe a bag this year.
.1-0 is fouled back, evens that count up. Now Miles is susceptible to the strikeout, 18 Ks compared to just 6 walks. On base percentage just above 300, so if you're O'Brien, being able to escape this inning right here, right now, definitely would be a welcome sign.
Checks Gear for the 3rd time.
Yeah, but still has not shown his true pickoff move.
No, they're not like full attempts. They're just kind of slow lobs at that first base to just warn him and say, hey, I see you.
Here's the 1-1. Breaking ball swung on to second, and it gets through the legs of Wong. Going over to third base and going to reach there safely is Gear. They're going to call that one an error on the new second baseman, Tyler Wong. The second one of this first inning for the Jumbos.
Yeah, as someone who is a second baseman in high school, I got myself chastised plenty of times in practice for doing exactly what Tyler Wong did and just trying to get it with my glove instead of staying down on it. He just reached down, didn't get his body over the ball, and it went between his legs.
Brings up for the Beacons Luke Levitt, a senior outfielder from Manchester by the Sea, Massachusetts.
High first pitch, 1-0. Got away from O'Brien a little bit there. Levitt hitting .200 on the season, has split some time with Mariano Jimenez, who is starting this game off on the bench in left field.
Good catch by Whitfield there to be able to see that high ball coming, jump up and grab it. Especially with a runner in scoring position.
Two quick runs scored off of 2 hits and 2 jumbo errors. Michael O'Brien trying to escape this first inning without any more damage done. Runners on the corners, count 1-1 to Luke Levitt. Runner goes, pitch is fouled back, so they had a hit and run going, trying to take away that force out at second if a ground ball went into play.
Yeah, and there O'Brien shook off the fastball, went back to the off speed, was able to get Levitt ahead of it, and now 1 strike away from getting out of the inning.
Again, like you mentioned earlier, Riley hasn't wanted to go to that fastball. We'll see if that changes.
And gets him on the outside corner, so Michael O'Brien able to escape with just 2 runs given up off of 2 hits, 2 errors, and 2 Beacons left on base. We're going to head to the bottom of the first with the Jumbos taking their first at-bats of the game. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for Tufts as well as the defensive arrangement here for UMass Boston. For the Jumbos, leading off in right field. Batting 5th, the first baseman, Flavin, followed by Solomon, Whitfield, Wong, and Fleischer. And as you can see around the diamond for the Beacons, and from left to right in the outfield, Luke Levitt, Breon Parker, Justin Gavea. The infield is a Burris at third base, plays some time at first as well. It'll be Elliott Miles at short, Aiden Blake at second, and Mike Gorham at the first base position. Brandon Gear will be the designated hitter, and Mike Meager will be catching the starter here for the Beacons.
It's Ethan Hunt
and
on
Ethan
the
Hunt.
mound. He a 2.57 ERA on the year, 2-0 in his 2 starts, 3 appearances overall, has the lowest whip of any Beacon starter with 1. So someone who is pretty good at preventing batters from getting on base. Jumbos are really going to have to be efficient when they get opportunities today. Cannot afford to leave runners on base, especially when you start off a game already trailing 2 runs.
Now, if you know anything about either of these two teams, you'll see that their starting pitchers are obviously not the more upperclassmen pitchers that you might expect them to be. That's largely, especially for the Jumbos, because they're taking on Bowdoin this weekend, so they're more than likely wanting to save arms for them. And for UMass, they're also getting close to their conference play, meaning they're probably going to want to save the experienced pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, these are teams from Massachusetts, and the general rule of thumb in D3 baseball is that teams from outside of the Sun Belt don't get at-large bids to the NCAA tournament. You got to earn it via the conference tournament.
Beacons did not make it to the tournament last year, falling to Eastern Connecticut State in the Little East Conference Championship. Hunt deals 2 quick strikes to Ben Leonard, and the count's 0-2.
It's very surprising. Ben Leonard, not one really to take a lot of pitches, usually jumps to the first pitch he likes.
And swings at that one low and away for strike 3. Meager makes the play over to first, as that ball did hit the ground, and there's 1 away.
Yeah, I mean, great start for Hunt. 3 pitches, 3 strikes, and 3 really pitches that even if Leonard had been able to square up, weren't going to do any damage because they were low and away.
Brings up leading hitter for the Jumbos, Henry Fleckner. Henry Fleckner plays in that center field position when he's not at the plate.
Leading the team in batting average with 375, 973 OPS. Had a great trip to California, riding a 5-game hitting streak, and lofts that one into deep right center field, and that's going to reach all the way to the wall.
He might go
and allow
here
for Fleckner to stop at second with a stand-up double to open the Jumbos offensively.
Yeah, that was well played there in right field there.
Let that ball hit the back wall for sure.
If he takes another step towards the Brown Monster out in right field, that ball takes a carom, and Henry Fleckner's standing on third base.
Well, and especially, too, we've seen that Henry Fleckner is a super, super fast player, both on the football field as a wide receiver and then obviously on the baseball diamond.
We'll have that threat to potentially score on a base hit if Owen McKiernan is able to pick one up. McKiernan having a fantastic sophomore season. Got limited playing time in his freshman year, primarily as a defensive replacement, but this year making big use of his opportunity, leading his team with a 500 on-base percentage through 47 plate appearances.
Yeah, McKiernan was an interesting story last year. Was starting to get real time in the outfield, starting a little bit, and then got himself unfortunately injured, was not able to play the rest of the year, and this year started right where he stopped last year, just hitting the ball really, really well.
McKiernan, on top of having a hot contact bat, great at drawing walks, had 5 in the 3-game series against Whittier last weekend. Here's the 0-2. Grounded to short. Miles going to make the play over to first. Advancing to third is Fleckner, and there's now 2 away.
Kieran squared up on that one a little bit. Fleckner, good base running there. Waited out the shortstop, able to advance to third. That'll just force the pitcher here in Hunt to be very careful with his pitch selection, because any ball in the dirt, Fleckner will likely score upon.
Brings up freshman Malachi Pena. Malachi had a fantastic trip to California, scored 3 home runs in 2 games, 2 against the Chapman team and 1 against the Whittier College team in that 3rd game of the series.
Swings at the 0-1 pitch, gets past the third baseman Burris and into left field. Coming in to score is Fleckner, and it's an RBI single for the freshman Pena. Beacons now lead 2-1.
Pena proving it was not just a West Coast fluke. He can hit on the East Coast as well. Cuts the deficit in half just like that.
Certainly true. Adds what will be his 15th RBI of the season to his season totals. Solid at-bat for him.
Yeah, he's becoming a quick star here in the NESCAC as a freshman, is Malachi Pena.
Jumbos have had a lot of different options in right field. Cooper Smith The junior started off getting that starting position out there, but with him starting to struggle, at least in the start of the year, they brought Pena out for a couple of times, and he has totally made usage of that opportunity. Swing and a miss by Connor Flavin. The count goes to 1-1 with 2 away.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that's just very consistent in Coach Fagdis' philosophy is if someone's not hitting, he's not going to leave him in the lineup forever. He will make the change. He will give people opportunities, and it's up to you to take advantage of it like Payne is doing.
We saw that last season with the batter standing in that right-handed box. Flavin struggling a little bit towards the middle of the season. They brought out players such as Todd Stowicki to fill that role, and towards the end of the season, Flavin came right back and had a terrific end to the 2023 season. Runner goes as Pena headed towards second. The throw is great from Mike Meager, and that is how the inning will end. An attempted steal by Malachi Pena. Been caught once across 2 successes, and that'll be his second time getting caught attempting a swipe. That first inning will end, but not before the Jumbos get another run back on the board.
Yeah, you think that'll probably serve to settle down the nerves of Michael O'Brien a little bit, knowing his offense is there to support him. We'll see if he can get another or a scoreless inning here as he works through the bottom of the Beacons lineup.
Will say it does leave a runner, show an example of Tufts leaving a runner on base, though. Not always the end of the world, especially in the first inning. It's going to matter a lot more later in the game when those numbers do start to stack up as they have with this Jumbos team. But maybe something the Jumbos will want to be cautious about, especially when players like Malachi Pena make decisions to steal that aren't always perfectly timed.
Yeah, I don't hate the decision. The problem there is he didn't get a good jump. He really did not time Hunt's delivery well, and honestly, you wonder if it's just an experience where someone like an Ozzie Fleischer, who's been in this situation time and time again, with a jump like that, maybe just says, you know what, I'm not going to go. Pena, ambitious, decided to go, just never had a shot as long as that throw was on line.
And that throw was nearly flawless as well, so it's really pretty difficult for Pena to even get close to that bag.
Both Meager and Gear getting time behind the plate, and both for their defensive as well as their offensive prowess. O'Brien's up for his second inning of work, facing off against Mike Gorham, the first baseman. Takes strike 1.
Gorham, the senior from Westford, Massachusetts.
Batting 167, he's only got 6 at-bats this season. And he only has 1 hit, so...
Yeah, it's so hard to extrapolate stats this early in the season.
Oh, for sure. Definitely true.
1-1 is outside. The Beacons looking to replenish a lot of the offensive power they had in their infield last season, have yet to find a true answer on one of the corners, and they're going to see if Gorham is one of them. Nick Palma and Drew Metzdorf, both very solid hitters for this team in 2023. And Burris has stepped up, become a good player either at first or third. And they're trying Gorham here, and right now facing a 3-1 count from Michael O'Brien. Foul back and the count goes full.
That's the first time, actually the second time, we saw it to end the first inning with that punch out, and then there, when he needed a strike, he went to the fastball as opposed to the off-speed he was showing earlier.
And the payoff just missing that outside corner. O'Brien wanted the call or the swing. Regardless, not going to happen. A leadoff walk for Mike Gorham to start the inning off for UMass Boston.
Yeah, O'Brien definitely visibly frustrated. I think it seemed with himself as that one looked pretty clearly outside.
The center fielder, number 8, Breon Parker.
Here's Breon Parker bringing up the rear here for this Beacon lineup. Defensive-minded center fielder, hitting .235 on the 2024 season.
He's got 51 at-bats, 12 hits, 15 runs on the season.
And check swing. Going over, it was both Flavin and O'Brien, and Wong was not there to cover first. Bit of a miscommunication on a unorthodox base hit, and Breon Parker's going to take it. He's got himself a single.
I don't know what we just saw. That did not remind me of anything I've ever seen on a baseball field. Looked as if Parker was going to bunt and then decided not to and somehow made contact. Definitely confused all of the Jumbos right side of the infield. And once again, we're in the same spot we were in an inning ago where the Beacons have 2 on with nobody out.
And nothing here in this second inning. Strong contact. All solid pitches for O'Brien. Showing bunt is the leadoff hitter, Gavea, but he's going to pull it back and take a called strike 1.
Yeah, and that's the second time Beacon has shown bunt, and O'Brien's gone immediately with no hesitation into the off speed. Not going to let them lay one down without a fight.
Going to show bunt again. They're going to try to pick off the runner at second base, and they got him. Gorham caught sleeping.
Nice.
And a nice pickoff move from Michael O'Brien, as that's the first out of this second inning.
I'll tell you what, it is very rare you see a lefty run a spin pickoff move to second base, but a perfect timing play there with Wong coming over to cover the bag.
Big sigh of relief here as the Jumbos now only have one runner to deal with on base. The 0-1 is outside. Now, they do have to now deal with Parker. In terms of stolen bases, is perfect through 5 attempts so far this year.
And I think O'Brien knows that as he checks on Parker after the second pitch.
Gavea already reaching base this game. A walk to lead the game off. Scored on that RBI single from Aiden Blake.
Michael O'Brien very concerned about runners here, as has thrown over 2 bases as many times as he has thrown pitches in this second inning.
1 ball, 1 strike to Justin Gavea. O'Brien deals, runner goes, pitches high, throw over to second. Fleischer got there in time, but it was just off the mark. Parker was able to slide behind the tag and pick up a stolen base for himself.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that was a great throw from Malachi Whitman. It was probably would have been an out had that not been an off-speed pitch, but really, when a runner as fast as Parker is running on an off-speed pitch, you don't really have much of a chance.
No, for sure, and you can tell the scouting report for the Beacons today was...
Fly ball deep into left field. That's going to just curve foul. McKiernan gave it chase, but unable to make that play.
To continue that scouting report, clearly, if you have a chance to steal bases against the Jumbos, do it. We've seen it be successful in a couple of different attempts while they've shut down the attempts of the Jumbos to steal bases. So we'll look to see if that continues, but clearly it's been an effective offensive strategy for the Beacons of UMass Boston.
2-2 count, lefty on lefty. O'Brien deals, swung on, and grounded into the gap between shortstop and third. That's going to be a base hit. McKiernan going to fire home. Parker's got some speed, and he's going to slide in there for the third run of the game for the UMass Boston Beacons. It's an RBI single for Justin Gavea, and the lead now grows to 3-1.
And I can just see it on the body language of Owen McKiernan, who is frustrated with himself. That's the second time ball's come hard hit to him in left field. He's had a chance to get a runner at the plate, has put one with a lot of velocity, plenty to get the runner, and just pulled it towards the first baseline, forcing Whitman to go off the bag to come collect it.
Brings up Burris. Doesn't swing at that first pitch.
Yeah, and you got to wonder what O'Brien's threshold is here, because already thrown 35 pitches to get 4 outs.
The pitch to Burris is swung on. Diving play made by Ozzie Fleischer. Pump fake, not going to have a play at first base, but probably saved Gavea from advancing to third from that NESCAC Defender of the Year in 2023.
He didn't have a play at first. However, I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, that he had a chance at second base.
I, in all honesty, also thought he was going to go to second. I think he's pretty close to the bag, so the throw doesn't need to have a lot of crazy velocity to it in that scenario. And I thought he was up enough to throw it. Obviously, he thought otherwise.
I kind of trust Ozzie Fleischer's judgment. He is the NESCAC Defensive Player of the Year. And if he makes that throw the slightest bit off, it's down the right field line and the runner's scoring. So
Whitfield has to jump up to grab that one over to Aiden Blake. Runners on first and second here for the Beacons, as they've had 2 straight hard-hit balls to the left side of the infield.
I was chatting with Ozzie Fleischer the other day, and he definitely expected this game to be a fight, and clearly it's proving to be that.
The 1-0 to Blake, swung on and grounded foul. It'll be interesting to see what the Jumbos do in terms of the pitching department. Nick, as you mentioned earlier, 3-game series against Bowdoin this weekend, and the Jumbos want to make sure they have all their healthy arms, all the great pitching staff that they have, ready for the start of NESCAC play, because you know as soon as conference play starts, that's when things really start to get intense.
And that's especially the case given that against Whittier College this past weekend, they had 3 games and only 3 pitchers threw pitches. Connor Podeswa, Gavin Brown,
Double steal.
and Silas Reed.
And the throw over to third, not in time. Gouveia knocked out Pat Solomon. Wouldn't have made a difference either way, but nice play. O'Brien pretty slow on that windup to get the ball over.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder, and obviously I can't see because I'm behind home plate, but if O'Brien's tipping his off-speed pitches, because every time the Beacons have ran today, it's been on an off-speed pitch.
Now the infield's in with 1 away. The 2-1 inside. And count going to 3-1 on Blake.
Walk's not necessarily horrible here. It would actually allow you to drop back, as they're going to do, into double play formation.
Corners in, a ground ball to short or second. They'll just take the out, allow the run to score. It's 3-1 here in the top of the second. UMass Boston looking for their first win in program history against the Jumbos, and that is a clock violation against O'Brien, which will allow for Blake to reach first base and load the bases for the Beacons.
Not going to lie, I think that was intentional.
Would not be surprised, as
I think in a 3-1 count there with no harm in putting the runner on first base, you don't want to throw that pitch if you're going to throw a pitch that's likely going to be a ball, because there's a risk of throwing it to the backstop, letting the runner score. You put the runner on base, now you have a force out at the plate, and go after the next batter.
so now
Certainly true, especially given that it's Gear, a freshman, who, from a Grand Slam point of view, only has 1 home run. He's not a huge home run risk player.
They're going to go another inside move. Almost able to get Burris at second base. That's something that O'Brien and the rest of the Jumbos have liked, and so far has seen some good success.
O'Brien does not like that call from the ump there.
I mean, it was a great play. I can't tell you who was right because it was so bang-bang.
Gear reached on an error that ended up scoring Boston Burris for the second Beacon run. That ball on the ground, Whitfield able to put a stop to it, and they're going to ask if it did hit him before hitting the ground.
Gear's trying to prove that it hit him so he can get walked.
The umpire telling him no. From here, it looked like that pitch just missed him.
Yeah, it's unsure, though. It's down in his feet. He might have thought the bounce hit him, something like that.
Though I'll tell you what, if I'm Gear and the bases are loaded, if there's a pitch that's anywhere near me, as the umpires are now going to talk about it, I'm going to argue that it hit me, even if it just ruffled the pant leg, because no harm, no foul if he says no.
Gear quickly also there points down at his shin, which is pretty entertaining. Point out the spot that it hit him and say, here's where it hit me.
Umpire's not buying his story. Count 1-1.
Yeah, our replay op only able to show that shot that you see behind home plate, so we're not going to get a much closer look than we just saw. 1 ball, 1 strike with the bases loaded. UMass Boston looking to add to their 2-run lead. The pitch is swung on and missed, and the count goes to 1-2.
Yeah, Gear was fooled there. It was looking fastball. O'Brien came right back with the off speed. He was way ahead of it.
And that would be big here for O'Brien. Here's the pitch. Grounded to second base. This could be 2. Wong over to Fleischer. Fires over to first, and that's a double play to end the second inning. A big break here for Michael O'Brien as the Jumbos escape the second with only 1 run scored.
I'm going to argue that, Andrew. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. He put that ball, every single pitch in that at-bat was low in the zone. He was looking to get a ground ball, had faith in his defense. This time, Wong doesn't make the error. Fleischer slides across that second base bag, 4-6-3, and the Jumbos escape.
Yeah, really solid redemption from Wong there. Makes the mistake in that first inning, and it costs the Jumbos. Fixes the mistake in the second, gets behind that ball, scoops it up, and tosses it over to Ozzie Fleischer, who makes that double play.
1 run off of 3 hits, and 2 men left on base for UMass Boston. We're going to head to the bottom of the second. Jumbos trailing 3-1 after this. Back here on JumboCast, the bottom of the second inning between the Tufts Jumbos and the Umass Boston Beacons. First pitch swung on and lined into center field for a base hit. First baseman Connor Flavin getting his second attempt at his first at-bat, of course, with Malachi Pena getting caught stealing, and has some success this time around, getting the first base runner on board.
Yeah, Flavin just looking a lot more confident this year than he did at this point last year. We really saw that resurgence after he spent some time on the bench. Stepping up here.
Solomon, the next batter up, flies one into deep center field. Parker ended up having to run pretty far back, misjudged how deep that ball was going. Ends up making the play regardless. A very solid center fielder out there for the Beacons, and that's the first out of this second inning.
I would normally, in that situation, say it looked like he misjudged the wind, but it is not windy in the slightest here at Saul-Gittiman Park, so looked like he just misjudged the ball.
I mean, I would certainly say perks of the Medford Gray that never goes away in the sky. It is definitely a little bit harder to judge when you've got that whitish gray sky and a white baseball, obviously.
Should do with baseball is what they do with lacrosse in the snow, where they make the balls orange.
That would be a sight. I know in softball the balls are yellow sometimes, which could also definitely help.
Until it starts being sunny.
1-0 count to the catcher, Malcolm Whitfield. Swung on that one and fouled over to the right field side. Count goes to 1-1.
As that one hits off a car, it's time for me to give my annual reminder that if you come to a game at Saul-Gittiman Park, you park in that parking lot at your own risk.
You know, I was chatting with another one of our JumboCast members a while ago during a baseball game about how it'd be entertaining to just have a cam that pointed towards the parking lot. Just, you know, see the carnage that occurs.
Interesting choice of words there.
Carnage.
Sometimes the parking, the closer walk can be worth it.
You know, I didn't think about that at the time, but that's pretty funny, Riley.
Yeah, got all the puns going here. 3 balls and 1 strike. They check Flavin over at first base, who had to get back there quickly.
Yeah, really nice pickoff move there from Hunt. We've seen him kind of vary his delivery, go slow, go fast when he wanted to get it quickly to home plate on the play that they threw Pena out at second base.
He's going to go. Pitch over the head of Whitfield, and it's not going to matter as that was ball 4. So Flavin going to reach second, and his first 2 base runners on for the Jumbos with 1 away.
That was a solid combo of a good duck there by Malcolm Whitfield and a good catch by the UMass catcher.
Yeah, he kind of had that Neo moment where he's just like almost seemed to freeze the ball, allow him to get his head out of the way.
Yeah, that was what I thought too.
Here's Tyler Wong, second baseman starting today. Breaking ball, started inside, ended right over the plate for strike 1.
Yeah, that thing had a lot, probably about somewhere between 12 and 18 inches horizontal break.
Wong contributing to that double play in the top of the second, which ended the inning. Fly ball into foul territory down the right field line. Going over there is Gorham. It's going to sail into the UMass Boston bullpen, out of play for an 0-2 count.
Yeah, Wong late on that one, able to flare it off down the right field line.
No Jesse McCullough in the starting lineup here for the Jumbos today. Wong got a start earlier against Eastern Connecticut State where he picked up his first collegiate hit. 2 runners on for the Jumbos. The 0-2 pitch. It's not going to be a pitch as an inside move was made by Ethan Hunt.
Hunt looks at him there, doesn't throw that pitch, but certainly checks him. And in all honesty, I thought if he threw that pitch, it just might have put him in a bit of trouble.
Swung on and missed, and Wong is down on strikes for the second out of this second inning.
Yeah, real good job there from the pitcher, Hunt. Started up high, changed the eye level there for Wong, and then went downstairs. Wong was not able to chase it.
Brings up senior captain Ozzie Fleischer. Fleischer, a super dynamic shortstop. He's been the starting shortstop for 3 years on the Jumbo squad.
Swings to that first pitch, line straight into center field, but right into the glove of Breon Parker. And that'll be the third out of this inning. So some hard hit balls resulting in outs for the Jumbos here in the second. They leave 2 runners on without letting one across. It's 3-1 UMass Boston as we head to the third.
Hey, Nick, stop me if you've heard this before, but the Jumbos are leaving too many runners on base.
I'm shocked. That's never happened before. Yeah, definitely something we've continued to see the Jumbos do. And again, in that conversation that I had recently with Ozzie Fleischer, he talked about the fact that the bats and the balls were just not finding the holes in the defense that they needed to in order for those balls to fall and hit the ground. Definitely something he said changed in the Whittier games this weekend, but obviously not being the case right now against the Beacons of UMass Boston.
Yeah, I questioned in the top of the second how long Svagdis would stick with Mike O'Brien. The answer was until he got out of that double play. Patrick Fanning going to come onto the mound here.
Patrick Fanning only has 1 inning pitched this season. He pitched in the MIT game on March 13th, so 2 weeks ago. Came out of the game with an ERA of 9.0.
So allowed 1 run in 1 inning of work. Fanning, the right-hander, has got a lot of heat with that fastball. That's where we are expecting to see a majority of his arsenal today. We'll see how long they stretch him out. Again, Jumbos theoretically would not want to use too much of their bullpen, too much of their pitching staff, as they got 3 big games against Bowdoin in just a couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all expected O'Brien to kind of serve that opener role. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 3 or 4, especially underclassmen arms today, because I think Svagdis is probably going to want to save Podeswa, Reed, and Brown for Bowdoin, because if you got 3 really solid starters that you can run back-to-back-to-back in a 3-game NESCAC series, you have a very good chance of walking away with at least 2 wins.
Not only that, some of the better relievers for the Jumbos, I would imagine, maybe not as likely to get onto the field today, whether that's Robert Gray, Liam Wilson, who's also had some good appearances for the Jumbos so far. We'll see. It's kind of been that kind of day.
I think there's some merit to that. There's also merit on the other side in you want to see what you've got from these freshmen, because you're going to need them to be able to pitch big innings come May.
That's certainly true, although I will say from a depth of the bullpen point of view, as you pointed out, Riley, and additionally, Svagdis probably isn't super concerned about going through some or even, some like half of his bullpen, because that Silas Reed, Gavin Brown, and Connor Podeswa can make it a lot longer into games without really getting themselves into trouble. We've seen it throughout this season, and for pitchers like Silas Reed, we saw it last season, they can continue to make it through innings, so they're not going to be as worried about needing a bunch of arms.
Yeah, that is a very valid point, Nick, as Fanning struggling right now to really find the strike zone.
Elliot Miles reached on an error his first time up. The 2-1 from Fanning is grounded sharply to third. Nice play made by Solomon. Fires over to first base. Flavin picks it up off of the scoop, and he ended up picking up the ball right before Miles reached base, according to that first base umpire, and there's 1 away.
Yeah, and Brendan
Miles
Iger wrote out of his dugout, going to ask the umpires to discuss it.
Miles took 2 steps off the bag there and called safe. He was pretty confident.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought he beat it out after it got dropped by Flavin, but I think they're going to say that Flavin never lost possession of the ball.
Looks like it was just a quick conversation with the coaching staff and the umpires, and that'll be that with 1 away. It's an interesting play. The scoop is dropped and then picked up by the bare hand of Flavin, and that was apparently in time before the runner reached first.
Here is Elliot Miles. As Fanning able to find the outside corner, quickly puts him down 0-2.
And we'll see what the off-speed looks like here from Fanning. Again, the fastball has been what we've seen from him a bit. Looks like he goes for that same pitch, and he's going to pay for it as Miles will line that one into right field. That's going to be a base hit.
Yeah, Miles, though he's a freshman, showing some poise and experience there, knew that Fanning was going to go to the off-speed, was sitting on it, able to just slap that the other way for the single.
So a runner on with one out as Luke Levitt comes to the plate. The lefty struck out his first time up to end the first inning. Chopper to first. Flavin gonna fire over to second for one. On to the first. Fanning stretches, but not far enough, as it'll be a fielder's choice. 3-6-1, with the one being unsuccessful for the double play.
Yeah, great hustle there from Fanning, bolting over, getting into the stretch. Unfortunately, Levitt just a little too fast down that first base line to really have a shot at turning two.
First baseman number 30, Mike Gorham.
We'll see if the Beacons get aggressive on the base paths with 2 outs.
They've sent runners in both innings with 2 outs, though Levitt not one of the faster Beacons, so
7 stolen bases in 2023, perfect through 4 attempts this season. Pitch outside, 2-0.
have not seen, at least I have not seen at any point yet, Fanning's pickoff move. Wouldn't be surprised to see him throw over here.
Goes inside with the high heater. Count goes to 2-1.
I like that pitch a lot there. Right in on the hands of Gorham. Nothing he can do with it. Has to let it go.
2-1 is outside. That's been an area that it seems Coach Fagdis and the rest of the Jumbo staff likes to target against all these hitters.
I agree. I don't know if that necessarily was the intent of that pitch. Whitman set up inside. Ball ended up low and away.
Here's the 3-1. Levitt is going to swing on that one and foul it back as the runner did go. And over in foul territory to make the play is Patrick Solomon. Past my viewpoint here in the press booth, but it was Solomon to make the play, and that's going to be the third out of this third inning.
Yeah, that is a ball that would have been about 10 feet out of play in the old Get-'em infield, but in this new one with the wider baselines, plenty of room over on the turf for Solomon to go track it down.
Solid from Solomon there as well. Has proven his value in this last inning or two, especially with that long pitch in the second inning, I believe, that didn't make it to the mound quite in time.
Showing the glove a little bit is Patrick Solomon after making a couple of mishaps at third base earlier on in this game. It's still 3-1. We'll be back with the bottom of the third. Back here for the bottom of the third at Get-'em Park, the Jumbos find themselves down 2 at the top of their lineup. Coming to the plate, Ben Leonard stepping into the box for the second time this game, and will ground that one softly to first base. And the throw over is not going to be in time. Looks like the first baseman there, Mike Gorham, a little bit of an overthrow before Hunt could get there, and that's the first runner on for the Jumbos.
Yeah, way too casual from Gorham. Did not set his feet, lobbed one. And especially when you're throwing to a pitcher covering the base, you want to make sure that throw is soft but on target, because he is not a natural first baseman, not used to stretching, jumping for the ball, and that one just sailed on him.
The Beacons obviously choose to keep Ethan Hunt on the mound.
Now Hunt's a serious starter, has gone for 6-7 innings of work early this season, so we're expecting to see at least a decent amount of run from him.
Yeah, and I mean, only 22 pitches so far, so mowing through the Jumbos relatively easily.
0-1 count to Henry Fleckner. They check Leonard over at first base. Ben Leonard played a lot of time in that left field starting position last season. Has now transitioned over to that designated hitter role, but can still run 5 for 6 on stolen bases this year. The 0-1 is down and away as it evens it up at 1-1.
Yeah, and I mean, Ben Leonard was a really solid defensive outfielder. I wonder, as the Jumbos figure out their starting lineup here, will he start seeing some more time back in left field? Known for having a pretty good arm. You wonder on those plays where McKiernan just couldn't quite find home plate, would Leonard have been able to get those throws on target?
Well, definitely want both bats in the lineup, just a matter of who you stick out there in left field. Leonard also spending some time, according to our editorial team at TuftsJumbos.com, as backup catcher. So you might see him in that position, although both Whitfield and Connor Bralla have been performing admirably there.
Jumbos might have the fastest catchers I've ever seen.
Speaking of, runner goes. Leonard going to try for second on the 2-2 pitch, and another strong throw. Comes in right there.
Throw him out.
And that's a strike him out, throw him out double play. Mike Meager and Ethan Hunt contributing to both outs.
Yeah, and I mean, every time the Jumbos have ran today, it's seen the Beacons have been waiting for it, and Meager has just put an absolute dart on the glove of the shortstop there.
Bit of a catcher clinic from Mike Meager right now.
And gone from a situation with a runner on and nobody out to no runners on and 2 away for Owen McKiernan. McKiernan grounded to short his last time up. Looks at that one on the outside corner for a strike. UMass Boston Beacons play another non-conference matchup against Western New England tomorrow morning before starting Little East Conference play against Vermont State Castleton. Of course, this division has the UMass teams and also Eastern Connecticut State, who won the College World Series just a couple of years ago. The 2-1 outside, the count goes to 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, and on the other side, obviously, Jumbos looking to do what they did last year and win the NESCAC, but they're going to have the inverse of their schedule a year ago, which means they're going to have to spend 2 weekends, as that one's going to trail out of play, early on in the season up in the frigid tundra of Maine.
The tundra of New England, that's what they call it. Got the polar bears up there.
They do have the polar bears this weekend.
Frozen tundra and polar bears tend to go hand in hand.
Full count with 2 away. Hunt delivers to McKiernan, and the pitch is swung on and grounded foul.
And I'll tell you what, Owen McKiernan is very lucky that ball stayed foul because he was still standing in the batter's box when that got to the third base bag.
Yeah, in all honesty, that first bounce, I thought that was going to be fair.
You and me both, Nick. You and me both.
The 3-2 is once again grounded foul. Nice attempt there by Boston Burris, who spent some time on both corners.
This time McKiernan has made it all the way to the lefty batter's box.
He's confident that that ball was going foul.
Interesting, that was quite a bit of effort from Boston Burris over there on the corner.
And this time he looks at the breaking ball inside the strike zone for a called strike 3. 2 strikeouts and a caught stealing. Nice work for Ethan Hunt as he goes through his second straight scoreless inning.
Jumbo's really struggling to get any sort of solid contact against Hunt, and a great pitch there to put him away. Recognized that McKiernan was timing up his fastball, had pulled 2 in a row, so he gave him the off speed, and McKiernan looked like a statue there. Nothing he can do about it.
A lot of pieces for the Jumbos so far that have been working well for them. Not super successful so far. The stolen bases have not been working. And, of course, the top of their lineup still struggling here as we head to the 4th inning with a new arm on the mound. It'll be Jacob Lapp, the junior out of Andover, Massachusetts. Lapp saw some playing time earlier on in this year here at Gittleman, and we'll get another opportunity here today.
Yeah, interesting. Not that we would see Lapp, but that Patrick Fanning would come out after only 1 inning in which he was relatively smooth, only letting a 1 runner on base.
You know, Riley, I was about to ask you, if you were Paul Sfagdis right now, 3 innings in against this UMass Beacons team, what do you change? And clearly that answer for him is a pitcher. See if they can maybe get something going on the defensive side of things to stop the momentum of the Beacons. and then hopefully see if they can shine the light back on the Jumbos and get their momentum going.
Yeah, and I mean, I think pitching is what you change at this point because it is still only 3 innings into the game, and you have some talented bats on the bench. You have people like Jesse McCullough, like Cooper Smith, who Andrew mentioned earlier, who, if you get yourself into a situation where you need a big bat to spark a rally, you have those people. What you don't want is a pitcher getting tired, giving up a big inning, and putting this game out of reach early on.
Now, Lapp has been able to offer some length for the Jumbos out of the bullpen. Last appearance was on March 20th against Chapman, threw 63 pitches across 3 innings of work, was credited with the loss as he allowed 4 earned runs, but also had a win against Eastern Connecticut State that second half of that doubleheader, as he was crucial in holding that lead for the Jumbos and allowing them to take the victory 5-1. Breon Parker steps in, had a single and a run scored his last time up. Now, Lapp, not as much power in terms of that fastball. I think topping out around the high 80s, but he's got a lot of interesting tools to work with against this UMass Boston lineup. The 1-0 swung on and flied into shallow right center field. Pena will make the play, and there's 1 out.
Yeah, they went with a 2-seamer as opposed to the 4-seamer. Had a little bit of inside tail. Parker with that swing kind of trying to dig it inside out, ends up getting behind it, and it finds its way into the glove of Malachi Pena.
Govea back up at the plate.
UMass Boston already getting their 3rd attempts in the batter's box. Govea 1 for 1 with a walk and a single alongside a run scored. Pitch from Lapp is right on that outside corner, 2-0.
Govea, though, definitely has the power to send that ball over that back wall. We've seen it a couple of different times this season, though, most recently in the MIT game. So we'll see if he starts to swing and attempts to swing big.
Lapp there with a nice pitch. Had a good amount of horizontal movement, starting seemingly every pitch on that outside edge of the plate and moving it from there.
That time sneaking right under that outside corner for a 2-1 count. This time just a little bit lower, and the count goes to 3-1.
Ooh, I thought that clipped the corner.
A little further down than that last pitch, which is probably what the umpire is going to call. But well placed by the ready Lapp.
Shook off the first call.
Ground ball sharply to second base. Wong will make the play, and there's 2 down.
Wong again proving that his mistake doesn't prove him as a baseball player, making a couple of solid plays in these last couple innings.
Well, I will say, for making the play, was a little casual with it. Came up very quickly and just got it on the edge of the glove there. Obviously, the turf does things that you just don't expect as an infielder.
Certainly true. You'd expect that ball to maybe bounce a little differently, bounce a little faster, anything like that. Although they do practice on it, so they might be a little more used to it than some squads who might play on grass and sand.
Yeah, Gittleman, one of the few ballparks that that I've seen that is completely turf. Not only the outfield grass and even the infield grass, but the quote-unquote dirt areas made of the same material.
You wonder how much that's affecting the infielders having come back from that California trip where they're playing on the dirt.
And in warm weather, too.
Yeah, that might be a bigger factor.
See that? Almost everybody on the field right now has some form of long sleeves or arm warmers on, except for Lapp on the mound.
1-2 is the count to Boston Burris. 2 for 2, 2 singles, including a stolen base in that second inning.
Lapp a strike away from the Jumbo's first 1-2-3 inning of the day.
And the 1-2. Right on that outside corner, and they got him. A 1-2-3 inning for Jacob Lapp. The Jumbos, with 2 straight scoreless, lead still 3-1 in favor of UMass Boston as we head to the bottom of the 4th.
Yeah. looked for the longest time like it was going to end up in the lefty or in the righty batter's box, and then just broke almost like a clock turning into the outside corner for strike 3.
Jacob Lapp comes in on that inning, proves his value, throws a 1-2-3 out inning, and we'll see if he stays on the mound. If I had to guess, I'd say the answer would be yes after that performance, but you never know.
If he doesn't stay on the mound, then it's clear that Svagdis' goal with his pitching today is just to get as many arms, some innings as possible, because there is no rational reason other than that you would pull Jacob Lapp after that inning.
Certainly true. I agree with you there, Riley.
And I think it's time that we got to see if the Jumbos brought their bats today, because these are the two coming up who have gotten on base with hits here in Pena and Flavin. And then after that, of course, Patrick Solomon, who we know has some power in his bat, and Whitfield, who got on with an error in the second. So the heart of the Jumbos lineup coming up, where they probably really need to at least challenge Hunt, because he's starting to feel very comfortable out there.
Now, as I said earlier today, while the Beacons have been fairly consistent, they're also a team that has a tendency to give up stray innings, especially in the second half of the game. And while we are, yes, still in the first half, we know it's a possibility that we can go from shutout innings with the Beacons to giving up 4, 5, or even more runs. Obviously, the Jumbos would love to capitalize on that opportunity and get themselves one of those innings.
Saw it happen in 2022 when these two teams faced off. UMass Boston had a big lead after a strong first inning. Jumbos were able to work all the way back and take the win 6-5.
That pitch had a lot of movement. Started in the righty batter's box, ended up outside.
The 1-1 to Pena. Swung on, high fly ball into left center field. Parker going to settle under it and make the play for the first out.
He was able to get under it relatively easily at the end, but that's the second fly ball that Parker's looked to have almost lost in the gray sky.
Yeah, there was kind of some awkward movement there in center field. He stood there, wasn't really sure where to move, moved, and then moved again, and then finally decided, okay, this is where it's going to come down, waved it off, and caught the ball.
Shifting over here a little bit in response to where Flavin hit the ball last time up, as he is playing almost directly behind the second baseman. Large gap in left center if Flavin can pull one.
The 0-1 away. Would not be surprised to see Hunt target the outside part of the plate to make sure that if Flavin does make contact, it is to that right side.
Yeah, driven hit to left center field would certainly be problematic for the Beacons right now. That ball
half
fouled
swing,
right.
And right into the glove of Mike Meager, who's had a great game behind the plate, and that'll be the second out of this fourth inning.
And that's the second half swing we've seen today, one aside. The Beacons, unlike the Jumbos, able to take advantage, get 2 quick outs here, and it'll be up to Solomon to salvage something from this inning.
Mike Meager, an experienced catcher as we've seen today. He's a junior. There's that left-driven ball.
Ripped into left field, making the play is Levitt, and that'll be another quick 1-2-3 inning for Ethan Hunt.
Ethan Hunt threw 4 innings, only 3 hits given up, and gets through 4 innings on 42 pitches. The Jumbos looking to keep themselves in this game, trailing by 2 as we go to the 5th.
Happy with the game right now. Obviously, a lot can change in the course of an inning. That's baseball for you. But right now, they're certainly smiling.
We're going to head into the 5th inning. A new pitcher on the mound once again for the Jumbos. It'll be number 21, Charlie Biskupiak, the sophomore out of Canton, Connecticut.
So clearly, does not matter how pitchers are pitching. Svagdis has a plan. He's going to stick with it.
We head to the 5th inning here at Gittleman Park. Charlie Biskupiak, the sophomore from Loomis Chaffee High School, on the mound here. The lefty making his 2nd appearance of the season. A 3-inning effort against Pomona Pitzer on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th.
And now, Riley, let's go back to what you were saying earlier. Said there's no reason to take Lapp off the mound. And here we are. He's not on the mound. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that Coach Fagdes wrote his lineup for today in ink and did not bring an eraser.
Want to get maybe some arms up in this non-conference game, get some looks from some pieces that are maybe a little newer to this, as looks like a very successful start to Biskupiak, as he has a strikeout to one of the best players on the UMass Boston team, Aiden Blake, 1 away.
Yeah, that pitch, great movement. Started up at the top outside corner of the zone and just moved up and away. No chance.
Here we are with Brandon Gear. Been effective against the Jumbos.
Ground ball to third. Solomon got to make a strong throw over to first base. They rule it a foul ball as it crossed the plane over the third base line, out of play.
You know, I was a little unsure on that one. Obviously, Solomon chose make the decision, rather be safe than sorry. But I was unsure if that ball was foul or fair. Looked to kind of bounce foul, then bounce fair, then bounce foul again.
Yeah, it definitely, the last bounce before it crossed the bag was definitely on the foul side. I don't know where it was when it crossed the plane, but I think that's probably what the umpire made the judge on.
And quickly 0-2 to Gear.
Biskupiak put together a strikeout in the first. Can he put together another one?
Gear asking for time, now going to crowd the plate.
No balls, 2 strikes here in the top of the 5th. 0-2 pitch is swung on and fouled back, and the count will stay the same.
Have not seen any sort of off speed from Biskupiak so far. 6 pitches, 6 fastballs.
I mean, if, you know, don't change what ain't broke.
Here's the 0-2. Right on that outside corner, no call.
And there's the broke.
A very solid placement there by Biskupiak, but looks
Yeah,
like
I don't
Gear's
know
not
how
gonna bite.
broke it is. That pitch missed by maybe a centimeter.
I'll try again. Same spot, this time a little further outside, as Whitfield had to dive out to pick that one up.
That one tailed a little bit. A little too much horizontal movement on that one.
You know, I will say something we've seen Whitfield be really good at in the last couple of games and this season is keep that ball in front of him.
Fly ball to deep left field. McKiernan going to have to run into foul territory, sliding. Did he make the play? Yes, he did, and that's the 2nd out of this 5th inning.
I'll tell you what, Owen McKiernan definitely took the scenic route, but in the end, he came up smooth as could be with the baseball.
Ball likely tailing out of play. It was a long run for Owen McKiernan, but he's able to make a really nice play out there in left field.
Yeah, that ball started looking like it was headed towards the flagpole and ended up on a direct course towards the Jumbo's bullpen.
A little interesting, too, that ball for Owen McKiernan maybe didn't exactly go where he thought it was going to be. He started sprinting over, stalled the sprint just a little bit, slowed down, and then realized he had to slide, which he did. And obviously, we'll see maybe if that ends up on the highlights feed later today.
I would imagine it would. Generally, when you slide like Jacoby Ellsbury, that happens.
Mike Meager takes a strike. Count goes to 2-1. Meager's done some great stuff behind the plate. Multiple caught stealings, as well as that pop-out that he had earlier in this game. Flies that one into foul territory, and the count goes to 2-2.
That one's going to end up on the brand new tennis courts. Serve just a little bit outside. And Biskupiak will now look for a punch out to get another 1-2-3.
Here's the 2-2. Softly grounded into foul territory, and the count will stay the same.
Nice barehanded catch from the Beacon's third base coach there.
It's all the little things got to admire here.
First off-speed pitch of the inning there from Biskupiak. Megan wasn't ready for it, but was able to just chop at it, stay alive.
Breaking ball, falling just on that outside corner. The count will go full.
Saw the Beacons win on a full count in the last inning.
And a line drive straight into foul territory. That was hit very hard off the bat.
Judging from the reactions, I can't tell if that went to the Jumbos dugout or not.
I'd imagine there's got to be something in front of them that it probably bounced off of.
It's a low trajectory. Heard some oohs and ahs, and the ball rolled a little bit after
Looks like
ricocheting off of
looks
something.
like it bounced off something.
Full count with 2 away. Biscupiak looking to work a scoreless fifth for the Jumbos. Foul ball.
It's going to end up right about near us.
Whitfield not going to be able to make the play as it lands in the 3rd row of the new seats behind home plate. So Meager doing a good job to work the count so far.
That ball, there was a guy sitting, and it dropped the seat next to him.
Yeah.
He didn't even move.
He was real casual. Malcolm Whitfield was so sure he was going to get to that ball. He sprinted to the backstop. In the end, neither of them were correct, and we start over at 3-2.
We'll do it again. Here's the payoff, and another foul ball down the left field line.
That ball was moving when it came off the bat. Ripped left foul.
Yeah, I mean, they might want to think about extending that netting a little bit further.
Maybe in front of the dugout.
We'll do it again. Ground ball to that left side, but this time in fair territory and off the glove of Patrick Solomon. So winning the battle is Mike Meager as he gets on for his first base hit of this 5th inning.
I will say, in credit to Solomon, yes, he didn't catch that ball, but what he did do was stop it, and it meant that Ozzie Fleischer could pick it up and limit any damage from happening for Meager to go to second. And I think, admittedly, yeah, he didn't catch it, but it's still a solid play from Solomon. It's a good dive and gets his glove largely in front of it.
Yeah, there's a reason they gave him a single and not an error. But Meager wins the 10-pitch at-bat. And that's got to be a little bit deflating there for Biskupiak, having been 1 pitch away for 5 pitches before giving up a hit.
Biskupiak will throw that ball to first base just to check on Meager. It didn't look like it had a lot of intent to pick him off, though.
That first pitch to Miles is in the dirt. 1-0 count.
Thrown inside. Batter had to move just a bit. Again, as I talked about earlier, Whitfield did a good job at keeping that ball in front of him.
Off speed this time. Over to second base. Wong going to field it and step on the bag to make the force to end the inning. So
I'll tell you what, Biskupiak is very lucky that his attempt to barehand that ball did not work, because that could have easily ended up in a broken finger.
You know, see, I was actually thinking 2 things. One, that probably, even if it flicked him, would not have felt good. But second, it also might have deflected that ball into a different direction, which might have been problematic for either of the Tufts players that were behind him.
well, no harm, no foul as a scoreless inning recorded by Charlie Biskupiak. We're going to head to the bottom of the 5th. Score still 3-1 in favor of UMass Boston. We'll be right back. Back here in the bottom of the 5th, as Ethan Hunt for UMass Boston has worked out a really good outing, heading into his 5th inning after giving up that first run in the bottom of the 1st. 3 straight scoreless frames as Malcolm Whitfield will try to put a change to that as he takes strike 1.
Whitfield walked first time up as part of that run scoring second for the Jumbos.
Whitfield had a good start to the California trip, went 4 for 11 against Pomona Pitzer with 2 doubles. Did not record a hit for the rest of that trip. Is currently in a 4-game hit drought without recording any base hits. The 0-2. I might have cast or cursed it. Fly ball into left center field. Diving for it is Breon Parker. Did he make the play? Yes, he did. An acrobatic move from the center fielder, and that is a long, hard out for the catcher Whitfield.
That was an unbelievable play there in left center field. Full-on dive, outstretch, catches the ball, almost scorpions over himself when he lands, manages to keep the ball in his glove, pops up knowing he's got it.
Yeah, that's a 3-base out. Because if that ball hits the ground, it's going all the way to the fence, and Malcolm Whitfield's at least standing on third base.
That's the defensive prowess of Breon Parker that we were talking about. Last year had a play in center field that made the ESPN top 10, coming in at number 2 back in April 2023.
I remember
Second
that one
pitch to
very
Wong,
well.
grounded to third. Burris will make the long throw to record out number 2.
That was pitch 47 for Ethan Hunt, I believe.
Hunt's last base hit allowed was back at the top of this, or the start of the bottom of the second inning, the leadoff single to Connor Flavin. Since then, has a walk and a reached on error. Those are the only 2 base runners that he's allowed since then.
And I mean, for a game that started off with 4 runs in the first 3 half innings, it's now been 3+ full innings without any runs, and 2 full innings, as this one's going to drift out of play, since there's been a runner on base.
Fleischer quickly down in the count 0-2. Lined out to center field his last time up. That ended the second, and this time he wants to avoid ending the 5th.
Yeah, Fleischer had real good contact in that first at-bat, just unfortunately hit it straight at Parker.
The 0-2, grounded foul. This time, Burris not going to try to make that play.
Honestly, the way he's pitching right now, you got the feeling that Ethan Hunt's not a bad bet to go the distance.
No, it looks like he feels pretty good. He's pretty consistent, too, on the pitches. There's nothing crazy wavering, which is usually the telltale sign that a pitcher is getting tired or his arm is getting tired. And it doesn't seem to be the case. He does throw that pitch inside, but...
Mercy, what a pitch.
And got him this time. Breaking ball right into the strike zone. Ethan Hunt facing the minimum for 3 straight frames as he goes through another scoreless inning. The Jumbos have yet to put a lot together on the board offensively. We head to the 6th. Score still 3-1.
We'll see. Do they make a mound change?
If I had to guess, I'd say yes, but I can't quite tell.
Can't. On the mound is now 37.
Cole Donato gonna hop on the mound here, the sophomore from Walpole, Massachusetts.
You know, a conversation we had off the air is what the strategy would be today from a pitching point of view. And we've seen that the answer for Svagdis is honestly to shuffle out a bunch of pitchers, especially as we get closer to league games. And then, of course, that May NCAA tournament, fingers crossed. It is for the Jumbos, seeing what they have in terms of underclassmen arms, especially coming off of last season where they lost a lot of their arm power. And so for this season, Svagdis clearly wants to see what these players can produce in game scenarios, and he's shuffling them through right now.
3rd appearance here for Donato. Brother Matt was on the team last season, as Cole missed all of his freshman year due to injury, but so far offering pretty good stuff on the mound for Tufts. First outing, 4 innings of scoreless ball against Eastern Connecticut State, was able to hold the line and prevent more arms from being used in that first game, which ultimately led to the Jumbos coming out ahead of that second one to split the doubleheader.
Yeah, and you know, obviously, as Nick mentioned, a lot of arms leaving. 2 big bullpen arms in McFall and Aiden Tucker gone. there are spots to be won in the bullpen for pivotal moments, and you have to imagine that with that 4-inning performance from Donato, another good performance today, and he could be putting himself in a position to be a arm that's relied upon come NESCAC play.
Last time up, not as successful, although it did still result in a win. 1/3 inning pitch with 3 earned runs against Laverne on March 18th. Jumbo still ended up winning that one 11-9. First pitch low to Luke Levitt, and the count goes to 1-0. Now, Nick, what you mentioned earlier on in this broadcast, the Jumbo's using 3 starters that went the distance in their series against Whittier. And a lot of bullpen arms haven't been used as a ground ball goes to Flavin, and that'll be the first out of the inning. So perhaps the strategy here for Svagdis, get all those arms a little bit of use, as it's been a while since they've seen some, some pitches thrown in that bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, Brown, Reed, and Pedezwa were really great in that Whittier series, but it doesn't matter how good your pitchers are. You're not going to get through an entire NESCAC series on starters. You're going to need the bullpen to step up at some point, and you don't want the bullpen going into the NESCAC having not pitched in almost 2 weeks.
That's exactly true, and definitely, I'm sure, something that Svagas and the offensive coaches are thinking about.
One thing we've seen from Donato, always has a smile on his face on the mound. Positive demeanor, happy to be here, and so far looking good in his first batter of the game. Gorham lines one into right field, jumping to make the play is Malachi Pena, an acrobatic second out for the Jumbos here in the 6th.
Yeah, great athleticism there from Pena. Looked like he was Josh Bernstein going up to reject a shooter. Came down with the ball.
No, you got to say, too, if that ball goes over him, he's definitely in a bit of a tricky position where it bounces off the back wall there, bounces forward in front of him. Maybe he has to take a couple steps. Maybe it doesn't bounce as far as he thinks it's going to. Definitely would be a good offensive position for the Beacons, but that doesn't happen thanks to his athleticism.
Gorham had a good chance to pick up his second hit of the season, his first extra base hit of the season on that hard hit ball, but Pena going to deny it, and quickly 2 outs here in the top of the 6th. Parker swings and misses, and the count is 0-2.
Donato, 4 pitches, 4 strikes, 1 strike away from a 1-2-3 appearance.
That ball sneaks just behind the bat of Breon Poker.
Here's the 0-2. Foul back as Parker stays alive. Had a single in the 2nd, flew out to right field in the 4th, and has done a number in center field defensively, including that diving play to get Malcolm Whitfield out earlier in the 5th.
Yeah, definitely a solid player for the Beacons, both offensively and defensively.
The 0-2 flared into right field. That's going to fall for a base hit. A softly hit line drive from Breon Parker will get him his 2nd hit of the day, and there's a runner on with 2 outs for the Beacons.
And Breon Parker showing just the maturity that comes with a year of experience. With a tough pitch inside, great location there from Donato. Parker doesn't try and do too much with it, just makes contact. It finds the soft turf, and the Beacons once again have a 2-out runner.
Brings the lineup all the way back around. Gavea will seat Donato for the first time. First pitch inside, the count goes to 1-0.
First ball Donato's thrown, as his first 7 had been in the strike zone.
Not necessarily the end of the world.
The right fielder 1 for 2 with a walk, grounded to 2nd his last time up. They're going to check Parker at first. The ball gets past Flavin, and now Parker, late, is going to head over to 2nd. The throw over is over the head of Fleischer. Parker sliding into 2nd, so would not make an attempt at 3rd, but regardless, an advance off of the error on the pickoff attempt.
That was an impressive display of speed from Breon Parker. Looks up as he's on first base, doesn't realize the ball's gone over him, sees it, and then starts to sprint and makes it all the way to 2nd base.
I honestly thought he was crazy for going. I thought Flavin had him for sure. Flavin did a good job fooling Parker, not making it clear that the ball had gone by him. Just wasn't able to put the throw on the money.
1-1 now to Gavea with a runner in scoring position for the right fielder.
And in the end, the only error they give on that play was an error on the pitcher Donato on the pickoff attempt.
1 ball, 1 strike. Parker representing the potential 4th run for UMass Boston off second base. Grounded to short. Fleischer fields it cleanly, fires to first, jumping up to get it off the bases. Flavin going home and scoring is Breon Parker. Whitfield unable to put the tag down, and it's 4-1 UMass Boston.
Yeah, I mean,
That first ball that goes to first, it goes high, forcing Flavin to jump. He doesn't come down with the tag, decides to go home where Breon Parker is absolutely sprinting. That ball shifted just a little to the first base side of home plate, forces Whitfield just a little to that side, means Breon Parker essentially takes a tumble over first base but stays safe.
Ruled an error on Ozzie Fleischer that allowed for Gavay to reach first, and of course allowed eventually for Parker to come around to score. The throw was on time, just a little off target, and a nice job by Parker to evade the glove of Whitfield.
yeah, it's hard to guess what happened, but judging from his body language, I think Whitfield thought the umpire was going to call Parker out for going out of the baseline, but it didn't really seem like he changed his run in any real capacity, and Whitman just decided to forget to tag him.
Typically not something Malcolm Whitfield does.
Now he's going to go. Hit and run situation. Soft grounder over to second. McCullough, who's come in defensively, makes a quick throw over to first. A nice play by the second baseman to end the inning, but not before a run comes home to score.
See, unlike last inning, in that situation, he actually had to stick his bare hand out, was able to do so, and get the out. Jumbo's escape, but not before giving up a run. 4-1 as we go to the bottom of the 6th.
Okay. Back here at Gittleman Park, Jumbo's now down 4-1 after a run came home by UMass Boston in the top of the 6th. Some defensive changes for the UMass Boston Beacons. Nick Farnese coming into third base. That'll shift Boston Burris from third to first. Still have Ethan Hunt on the mound, who has retired the last 8 Jumbo batters as he will face the top of the order for the 3rd time. Ben Leonard stepping into the box and taking strike 1.
Yeah, and I think this is probably a kind of must-score inning for the Jumbos. It's the top of the lineup. Hunt really in a zone, having not given up a run in 4 innings now. And you get the feeling that if he gets through this top of the Jumbos lineup, he's going to feel confident he can finish this one out.
For sure.
Chop it to first, as Burris will make the play unassisted, 1 away.
I was about to say Ben Leonard was an impact player against the Whittier College teams and was wondering if he'd be impactful there. The answer is no.
Yeah, Ben Leonard, one of those players who some days he's really quiet, and then some days he'll go 3 for 4 with 3 extra base hits, and you never know what you're going to get from him.
Ground ball to Fleckner, shortstop. Miles unable to make the play, and that'll be an infield hit with 1 out here in the 6th.
Yeah, Miles went to throw that ball, realized there was no ball in his glove, and Henry Fleckner's on first. Jumbo's first runner in 4 innings.
They're going to rule that one an error on the shortstop, so an E6 for Miles.
Okay, I can see that.
It's a little unlucky, honestly. Like, he does stop the ball, it just doesn't get popped into the glove.
Oh, I definitely think there was a fault to it because I think you should come up with that play. I just question whether or not he's going to throw out the speedy Henry Fleckner anyway.
I would agree.
Well, a runner on with 1 out for Owen McKiernan.
Fleckner, one of the many dual sport athletes here at Tufts.
McKiernan was one who had a couple of hits in this game a year ago.
So for 2 today. Here's the 1-1. Check swing, but right on that outside corner, and the count goes to 1-2.
That was a called strike there, not a swinging strike. So a great location there from Hunt.
Fleckner leading off of first. Threat to steal has been caught a couple of times. Swung on. High fly ball to deep center field. Parker going to trail back and make the play for the 2nd out of the inning. Making his way back to first is Fleckner.
That ball almost dropped over the top of the glove of back there in center field, but doesn't, and it's caught.
Yeah, is it crazy to say that Breon Parker's only play today where he seemed like he knew where the ball was the one where he made the ridiculous diving catch?
Anyway.
Yeah, you know, you're not wrong there.
He's made the plays each time. At the end of the day, that's all that matters on the scorecard.
True that. Especially you can give in with Henry Fleckner on base. That ball drops behind the glove of Parker, and Fleckner's probably around 2 bases.
Yeah, big chance here for the freshman Malachi Pena.
Pena had a single in the 1st inning. Bouncing ball there for a ball, making the throw over the head of both infielders. Miles and Blake unable to get there as Fleckner advances to 2nd off of what I believe will be ruled as a wild pitch.
Now, of course, it was a rapid movement from the back of center field by Breon Parker up to the right side of second base from the perspective of us in the press box.
Yeah, and now an interesting mound visit here for the Beacons, and their pitching coach going to come out to the mound to talk with Hunt about how they want to deal with Pena, who's probably, at least so far this year, the Jumbo's biggest power threat. And with a 3-run lead, a run doesn't necessarily really do too much harm to the Beacons, but giving up a long bomb would definitely change the dynamic of this game.
It certainly would. Now you got to wonder maybe just a little reassurance for Ethan Hunt on the mound, especially if it's his team saying, yeah, we got you, we have confidence in you. Or the other question is maybe it's his team questioning, you know, all right, do you want to throw more pitches or do we just change it out and put another pitcher on the mound?
No action in the Beacon bullpen, so it'll be Hunt to finish this one off at the very least. 1-1 outside the Pena, and the count goes to 2-1. As we mentioned earlier, Malachi Pena, 3 home runs in the California trip, including a 2-homer day against Chapman on the 20th of March.
He's got the big power. We haven't seen it here at Gittleman Field, but it definitely is in his bat.
Here's the 2-1. Pena swings, drives that one into left field. That's going to be a base hit. Rounding third and scoring will be Fleckner easily as the throw comes in late to the catcher Meager. An RBI single for Malachi Pena, and the Jumbos creep back into this one. It's 4-2 in favor of UMass Boston.
And I think that was wise there from Pena, even though Meager did drop that ball in front of him, to not make the decision to go to second. We've seen Meager have a wicked fast arm and wicked fast decision-making throughout today's game, and I think Pena probably knew that, especially given that Meager's already thrown him out once.
Slavin now stepping up.
That's the first base hit of this game since the 2nd inning for the Jumbos. The last man to do it The one you see in the batter's box right now, Connor Flavin, who takes ball 1. Count 1-0.
Now again, as I've talked about,
Chopper to third. Farnese going to be a tough throw over, running in and making a strong throw over to Burris to end the inning and to end the threat there by the Jumbos. The defensive replacement, Farnese, making good work, and the Jumbos will only have 1 run come in to score.
now they do get 1 run home, which is important to cut that lead to 2 as well. This is a team that I'm sure Tufts knows has kind of struggled in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings of their past games this season. So maybe there's not a lot of alarm bells ringing on the Jumbos side.
Yeah, I think the Jumbos have to feel a good bit more confident after that inning, if only due to the fact that for the first time in a long time, Ethan Hunt seemed mortal.
Still believe that run was unearned, as of course Fleckner was able to reach off of the E6. So still keeping his scoreline all nice and dandy in terms of the ERA department, but the Jumbos still getting a run through. Score still 4-2. We got a new arm on the mound for the Jumbos. Matt Hirsch, the freshman out of Brookline, Mass.
Yeah, Matt Hirsch, one of the big recruits here, was the 85th ranked prospect in the Massachusetts class of 2023. Has mid-90s heat here, so one who has a fastball to boot, and it has some movement as we've seen in his couple of appearances so far this year.
He's also 6'2", so that pitch is going to have a little bit of downward momentum. So we might see him look to the bottom of the strike zone to see if he can catch batters out there, especially if those pitches have a lot of power behind them.
Hirsch's last outing against Chapman on the West Coast. 3 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, and 2 walks. So a little bit of a mixed bag. Did throw 49 pitches, so could provide some length, although, Riley, as we've seen, it's been 1 inning and then next man up for the Jumbos so far today.
Yeah, you get the feeling that unless, like, prime Mo Rivera steps on that mound, it doesn't matter how well they pitch, they're getting 1 inning. Which makes me question very much the decision by Svagdis to keep O'Brien in for 2 innings, even after he had given up 2 runs in the first.
Well, you also got to wonder, too, they're shuffling out effective pitchers in a game where they have a score deficit. You would think they want to keep the pitchers in to limit the damage or stop any more damage from happening.
His non-conference play, but of course, despite the NESCAC record being more important in terms of making the conference playoffs, tiebreaker, believe, is a non-conference record, so could end up
like
meaning
the
something.
last tiebreaker. But I think the bigger question is, you're not going to win an SCAC tournament and get yourself back to the NCAAs unless you can rely on some combination of the pitchers who've pitched today to give you scoreless innings come May, come June, potentially.
We have seen some good stuff out of the bullpen arms for the Jumbos today. Fanning, Donato, now Hirsch getting another opportunity here.
Certainly true, I will say, but you might imagine that Svagdis wants to add to the Jumbos Palmares and add a win to their total.
It's definitely true. I mean, we've seen pitcher after pitcher come in with good stuff.
Pitch to Blake is fouled.
It's not like he's throwing in someone like Donato was put in the position in that Eastern Connecticut State game where someone's just getting the job to eat innings.
True.
He's putting these people on the mound because he has faith in them to go in there and get the job done for the inning he gives them. And so far, all of them, with the slight exception of O'Brien, have answered the bell.
1-2 to Aiden Blake. Right down the middle, just a bit low, and the count goes to 2-2. Blake is 1 for 2 with a walk and a single.
Jumbo's bench wanted that call, unhappy when it was ruled a ball.
You know, maybe we can't hear it from the press box, but I'm a little surprised, I would imagine, with this Jumbos team and this Umass team, that there'd be a little more chirping out of the dugouts.
Yeah, I mean, midday Wednesday, non-conference game. Get back to me when it's a Sunday in May and it's Amherst.
Certainly true, Riley.
The payoff pitch, fly it into deep left field. Going back is McKiernan.
Gone.
He's at the track, at the wall. That ball is gone. A solo shot for Aiden Blake to add to the UMass Boston lead.
You know,
now
I
you
will
hear some
say,
chirping, Nick, from the UMass dugout. They're celebrating it, and just when the Jumbos seem to have gotten some momentum back, Blake takes it all away.
5th home run for Aiden Blake, the senior adding to his power and his strong start to the 2024 season. Jumbos got a run back, and it's answered immediately by the Beacons. The lead now up to 5-2.
Little glass half full for the Jumbos, though. It's not, entirely the end of the world that he puts up a home run, especially given there's nobody else on base. So, rather take 1 run than 4.
For sure, and honestly, if I'm Hirsch, I'm probably frustrated. That pitch was low on the bottom corner, and just Blake able to turn on it and just demolish it.
It's interesting. Hirsch's arm has got some side movement to it, and I'm curious if that influences his pitches at all.
I mean, I think it does. Pretty much every pitch I've seen so far has had that, I guess, from his perspective, right to left movement, the way his arm comes across.
Yeah, traditionally a lot of pitchers will go a little more over the top of their shoulder. He tends to come around his shoulder on his right side, obviously.
It's almost like an inverse Chris Sale delivery.
1-2 count to Gear in the dirt. The count evens up.
Yeah, those pitches, they're starting right inside and at the right height, but the problem is, as he's having that horizontal movement, they're dropping in, hitting the dirt.
Swing and a miss. Got him, Hirsch, with his first strikeout of the afternoon, as it'll be Gear to go down for the 4th time this game.
That time he switched it up. No horizontal movement. Came a little more over the top, as you had suggested, Nick. And Gear just fooled by the fact that that ball wasn't going left-right.
Mike Meager up to the plate. Been an impact player in today's game, both on the offensive and the defensive sides.
Singled his last time up, showing bunt this time as he fouls it back behind Whitfield.
Yeah, really rare to see a catcher show bunt, but the Beacons have not been afraid to show bunt in really unconventional situations today.
See Solomon now forced to creep in a little bit to make sure that he is able to retrieve that ball if it's laid down for an out. The 0-1 from Hirsch. Just down.
I want to give a little bit of props to Hirsch there, because oftentimes, especially with younger pitchers, when someone shows bunt unexpectedly, that pitch often sails or goes wildly from where they wanted it. That one stayed in the zone, got the strike there.
2-1. Meager entering today was on a 4-game hit streak, 6 for his last 17, adding to that streak today with a single the last time he came up to the plate. Waves at that one, went around on the swing, and the count goes to 2-2.
Yeah, tried to hold up his swing, could not. As, once again, Hirsch put that one almost in the same spot he struck Gear out.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
It seems like Hirsch is looking for that outside bottom corner and having some success with it, admittedly.
It's been a target, as we've said. Jumbos like to pepper that outside corner. We'll see if it pays dividends here.
Whitfield sets up there.
Here's the 2-2. Right where they wanted it, but they're going to call it a ball, and the count goes full.
Yeah, looking at that on the replay. Looked like a good call, just a little too far outside, had the right height.
3 balls, 2 strikes here in the top of the 7th between the Beacons and the Jumbos. 3-2, breaking ball in there for strike 3, second K of the inning for Hirsch.
The guts there from Matthew Hirsch. 3-2, having basically only thrown fastballs to the first 3 hitters, to go to the breaking ball on the outside corner, not looking for a swinging strike, but looking to place it and executing to perfection.
Now with 2 away, here's Elliot Miles, the shortstop. 1 for 3, singled in the 3rd inning.
Fouls that one back.
Miles seems to be wearing some sort of like hoodie.
That's what I was just going to comment on, Riley.
Saw it over there in shortstop. Gotta make sure your arm is nice and warm for those long throws. Chopper right back to the pitcher. Once again, Flavin steps off the bag, but this time making the play unassisted is Hirsch. Get a little bump at first base, but it looks like that's not going to matter too much. Will be Hirsch retiring the next 3 batters after allowing that leadoff home run to Aiden Blake, and the score now 5-2 in favor of UMass Boston.
Yeah, I think Coach Sfagdis really has only one thing that he definitely needs to work on in the next couple practices, and that's communication between the first baseman and the pitchers. That's the 3rd or 4th time today we've seen the Jumbos really struggle to figure out who's going to take a ball in that in-between zone.
For sure. Obviously, we saw Hirsch there just realize there's too much confusion and decide to sprint to the bag himself.
A U1 on the scorecard. You don't see that every day here, as Matt Hirsch once again, relatively successful outing. Of course, the home run from Blake is going to sting a little bit, but was able to work 2 strikeouts and, of course, make that play himself to end the top of the 7th inning. It's time to stretch here at Gittleman. We'll be back for more baseball here on JumboCast after this. How's it going? Bottom of the 7th inning here on JumboCast. Pat Solomon leading things off for the Jumbos, looking to add a little bit more on the offensive end as Tufts trails 5-2. Right now, the story, Ethan Hunt having a fantastic day on the mound, back here for his 7th inning of work. It'll be Solomon, Whitfield, and Jesse McCullough who enter the game as a defensive replacement.
We talked about Tufts maybe needing to bring in better offensive bats. McCullough is definitely one of those. Also could just be brought in for game experience and game time, but definitely will help the Jumbos on the offensive side of things.
Here's the 3-1. Outside and a leadoff walk to Pat Solomon. Much needed base runner here for the Jumbos after that home run by Aiden Blake. And it'll allow an opportunity for Whitfield, who had a hard hit ball his last time up, but unfortunately into the glove of Breon Parker, who made a fantastic play in left center field.
The catcher, number 11, Malcolm Whitfield.
Hunt's been good. Not too dominant in terms of the strikeout, only 5 Ks through 6+ innings. Whitfield takes that first pitch down low, and the count is 1-0.
Will Whitfield been an effective player for the Jumbos this season offensively, so.
They check Solomon at first, always a decent opportunity here. Very speedy base runner at third base, is 5 of 6 on the season, had 23 steals in 2023, but Meager's been fantastic behind the plate. I'd be surprised if the Jumbos offer another steal while they're down 3.
Yeah, no reason to. You've got to get yourself in a position where you bring the tying run to the plate, especially when you're tying run to someone as good as Jesse McCullough.
Yeah, we'll see if the Jumbos can work the players around the bags here and get something started on the offensive side of things, something they have not been able to do in the last 6 innings.
The 1-1 to Whitfield, inside, 2-1. Hunt's pitch count in the mid-70s right now, and we've seen people get up there in terms of pitches early on in this season, but we now see some action in the UMass Boston bullpen. You might imagine it'll be up to Hunt to get through the bottom of this Jumbo lineup, and then somebody else up for the 4th time around.
Tell you what, for someone who's trying to save his energy in his arm, He is throwing over to first a lot.
I mean, certainly true, but, you know, the Beacons have capitalized on jumbo steals today.
Pop up. The second baseman, Blake, makes the play. There's one down. Now, not surprising to see a ton of pickoff moves over to first. This is a very speedy bottom of the order here for the Jumbos, and going back around to the top with Leonard and Fleckner afterwards. So, not surprising all the way. One down, and here comes Jesse McCullough.
Jesse McCullough, sophomore infield from Sudbury, Massachusetts, attended Lincoln Sudbury Regional High School. This season batting .324. He's got 37 at-bats, 7 RBIs.
Came in for Wong around the 5th inning or so. It's a 900 OPS on the year. A lot of that due to his on-base skills. 10 walks across 47 plate appearances.
Pitcher in the bullpen for the Beacons right now warming up is Brendan Ferrari, a senior right-handed pitcher out of Dunstable, Massachusetts. We'll see if he's the one they choose to put on the mound. I'd imagine the answer will be yes in about half an inning here.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with you. I think they're probably hoping that Hunt can get through 8, and they can go to Ferrari for the 9th.
Wait and see. That ball cut foul. Outside of play, though.
Just missed a very expensive car in the parking lot.
McCullough, a very solid trip to California. 3 hits in that Whittier doubleheader, the last 2 games that the Jumbos ended up playing. Double and 2 RBIs. Now faces an 0-2 count as he skies one into left field right on the line, and that's a fair ball. Rounding second, heading towards third, and rounding third, heading towards home is Pat Solomon, and he's going to score standing up. It's an RBI double for Jesse McCullough in a pinch hit at bat. And the Jumbos cut into that lead. The deficit now just 2. It's 5-3 Beacons.
What did I tell you, Andrew, about bringing someone like Jesse McCullough in when you need a spark? 0-2 count, pitch on the inside corner, and he digs it out, places it on the chalk, drives home Solomon, and gets yourself a runner in scoring position, brings the tying run to the plate in Ozzie Fleischer.
Ozzie Fleischer as well, an effective offensive bat. Hasn't been as effective in today's game, but certainly has been effective this season. Obviously, they'll look to not strand runners in scoring position and see if they can actually capitalize on runners on base.
Fleischer 0 for 2 with a lineout and a strikeout. A lot of speed with McCullough on second base. The 0-1, fly ball, center field. Parker going to settle under it. McCullough's going to tag, takes a couple steps off the base, but a strong throw by Parker will make McCullough know that it was a smart decision to stay right there.
Yeah, I don't think McCullough really had any intention of going. I think his whole guise of walking back to the bag, looking like he was going to tag, was to try and draw a loose throw, because this turf is so fast-moving. A throw to third base that gets down the line, with McCullough's speed, he could score.
I will say, in props to Elliot Miles, he put himself in a really good position to catch Parker's ball. And in the case that McCullough went, that's either an easy tag himself or an easy toss to third, and he's getting McCullough out almost every time.
Brings back the top of the Jumbo lineup for the 4th time, Ben Leonard. Still looking for his first base hit of the afternoon, 0 for 3. Hunt trying to get through this 7th inning with only 1 run across.
Nick, you're definitely right. He is definitely getting tired. That pitch, the catcher there, Meager, set up on the outside corner, and that pitch ended up at the shoes of Ben Leonard on the inside.
Now it's interesting from a college to high school comparison. That ball does go a little more on that outside there. Place looks like where Hunt wants it. To talk about the number of pitches that pitchers throw in high school, obviously less arms, less pitchers, which means they're going to get used to throwing a lot more pitches. And so you might see freshman pitchers a little more used to it, a little higher, more able to get to those higher pitch numbers. But those upperclassmen pitchers like Ethan Hunt, for example, are maybe going to throw or be able to throw less.
High fly ball, center field. Parker settling under it after taking a long stride back to make the final play. A hard hit ball by Ben Leonard, but just not enough, as Parker will collect it for the 3rd out. Jumbos get another run across, but the deficit still standing at 2. It's 5-3 Beacons. We'll be back with the 8th. 2 more innings of regulation between the Jumbos and the UMass Boston Beacons here on JumboCast. Another pitcher on the mound for Tufts. It'll be Hunter Beindorf, the senior out of Lone Tree, Colorado, attended Valor Christian High School. Nick, what can we know about this guy?
You know, Valor Christian High School, a powerhouse high school in all sports in Colorado. They beat my high school in nearly everything every year when we played them. They were an effective baseball team, got close to state championships and won state championships, and they definitely were super strong in the football side of things, but they were also strong on the baseball diamond. And so we can expect some strength and some effectiveness out of Beindorf here as a pitcher on that squad.
Yeah, Beindorf getting the nod here in the 8th, and a real big inning because you have to imagine if Beindorf can keep it without the Beacons scoring, Svagdis will likely look to one of his more established stars.
First pitch swinging is Levitt. A strong throw to first by Ozzie Fleischer, and they make the play for the first out.
Levitt would have beaten that out if he did not dive. They always tell you from the moment you're like a kindergartner in T-ball, you run through first base because it is faster. Levitt dove, and it cost him the milliseconds he needed to beat it out.
Strong backhanded play by the shortstop. Ozzie Fleischer, Defensive Player of the Year for the NESCAC last season, and he shows off his glove a little bit for the first out.
You know, I am unsure if that player tried to dive or simply just tripped on the turf. It seemed like a bit of a in-between of both. Regardless, though, the Jumbos will take the out.
Here's Nick Farnese, who entered the game for Gorham a few innings ago as a defensive replacement, sliding over to third base and moved Boston Burris over to first.
Farnese this season batting 148 out of Farmington, New York.
He's going to add to that total here with a stop line drive over the head of Connor Flavin. Another base runner on for the Beacons.
Flacy took a turn, saw Malachi Pena come up with it cleanly, and thought better of testing the freshman's arm.
Yeah, Farnese looked ready to wheel around first base in a full dead sprint to second. Obviously decided against it. Definitely, I think, a wise decision in that case.
And a meeting between some of the coaching staff and Breon Parker. They want to make sure that they have something set up. I would expect, Riley, some shenanigans to happen with the speedy Farnese on first and the speedy Breon Parker at the plate.
Yeah, I'd be willing to put money on the fact that Parker will, at the very minimum, show bunt. And I wouldn't be surprised with his speed if he actually doesn't pull it back and lays one down.
Farnese 5 for 5 on stolen base attempts this season. Very quick. Had a triple against West Connecticut on March 22nd, game 2 of a doubleheader. Scored 2 runs in that game.
Solomon in, even with the bag.
Beindorf deals to Parker. First pitch on that inside corner for a strike.
Parker doesn't show bunt that time, like you said, might happen, Riley, but we'll see if he changes it up. Obviously, he's been effective offensively anyway, so it might be a hit-and-run situation for Farnese.
And you get the feeling that Beindorf might have guessed as to what the Beacons were up to, throwing a off-speed pitch that went about 60. No chance to bunt that thing.
The 1-1. Swung on and missed. Count goes to 1-2.
I believe that was foul-tipped, as it looked as if it hit Whitfield in a not-so-fun area, shaking that one off.
Umpire walking up slowly to toss the ball to Beindorf, giving Whitfield a little bit of time to recover. Looks like he'll be all right. Very strong defensive catcher behind the plate. Jumbo's done a good job replacing the presence of Connor Bowman behind the plate from last season. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 away. The pitch to Parker is grounded foul.
Good defensive swing there from Parker. Realized it was probably going to clip the bottom of the zone, but there wasn't much he could do with it. Able to just flick the wrist, hit it foul, and get another 2-strike pitch.
Beindorf starting off this season with 2 scoreless outings, allowed 3 runs off of 3 innings pitched against Laverne on the 18th. Runner goes. Farnese headed towards second. The ball on the ground as Whitfield unable to get a good jump on it, and that's a successful stolen base for the third baseman, Farnese.
I think the message, looking back on it, was to Farnese, someone who is a very effective base stealer, that he had a green light whenever he saw the opportunity. He saw it there, took advantage.
Count evens up at 2-2. Here's the pitch. Line drive into center field. That's going to be a base hit. Rounding third is Farnese. The throw in from Fleckner is not going to be cut off, but the play not in time. Whitfield was not in a position to lay the tag down. It's an RBI single here for Breon Parker. That's his third hit of the afternoon. And the lead goes up to 3 again. It's 6-3 Beacons.
A little bit of confusion caused by Connor Flavin there. It looks like he was going to settle with that ball in his glove and then obviously try and turn and whip it to Whitfield, but then decides not to, and that ball goes by him. And it seemed Whitfield was a little not ready for it, and it meant he wasn't in tagging position.
That's the second time today Whitfield's had an opportunity to tag out a runner at the plate and just not been ready. And you got to wonder, as 4 of the 6 Beacons runs have now come on plays at the plate. If the Jumbos were just a little bit more efficient in their defensive execution, would this one be a very different game?
Still a tough play, but a strong throw from Fleckner. Not cut off by Flavin, and that was the difference in a run coming home. 0-1 is the count to Gavea. Soft fly ball to right. Pena will settle under it for the second out, and moving back to first is Parker.
Yeah, Beacon's really seen it well here off Beindorf. 3 hard-hit balls, 2 that have been taken care of by Pena, 1 that led to that run.
Admittedly, probably a little concerning for the Jumbos to have Breon Parker on base, regardless of the fact that he's not in a scoring position, but still definitely an effective player.
Yeah, Nick, I definitely agree with that, and I agree that he's not in a scoring position now. However, with 2 outs, I'd be willing to guess he might take a venture towards second base.
Here's Burris. Boston Burris, 2 for 4 on the afternoon with 2 singles in the first 2 innings.
Beindorf gets a strike on that one, makes the count 1-0 to his side.
Parker with a strong lead off of first base. Flavin holding him on. And you can see the Jumbos consistently wary of the 9-hitter, the center fielder for UMass Boston going.
I mean, when Breon Parker has basically cooked the Tufts defense on effective speed plays throughout today's game, obviously they're a little more wary.
Ball in the dirt, as it was a swing and a miss by Burris. And Whitfield thought about throwing over as Parker took a couple of steps off with that ball down, but still an 0-2 count as Beindorf has the opportunity to escape with only 1 run being allowed. Here's the 0-2. On that outside corner, 1-2.
Yeah, Beindorf not giving anything anywhere near the strike zone for Burris, and why should he with an 0-2 count?
Beacons have scored once in the last 3 innings. The 1-2. Line drive to deep center field. Going back is Fleckner over his shoulder, makes the play, and that'll end the top of the 8th.
Yeah, that one seems to the viewer, obviously, as if it was comfortable, but I can tell you it was anything but it. It was only the speed of Henry Fleckner that allowed him to settle under that one, as that one almost got out to about the 400-foot mark. In the end, Fleckner tracks it down. We go to the bottom of the 8th, 6-3 Beacons.
2 more ups for your Tufts Jumbos as they trail 6-3 against the UMass Boston Beacons. Tufts 3-0 all-time against UMass Boston. This is their 3rd straight year playing against them. And they're going to have to make use of a pitching change here for UMass Boston. Of course, Hunt going 7 strong, allowing 3 runs off of 5 hits, only 2 of them being earned. And this time, the new face on the bump, Brendan Ferrari, the 5'8 senior out of Dunstable, Massachusetts.
Ferrari has pitched 6.1 innings this season, the most of which was 1.2 innings against Lewis and Clark. He has a current ERA of 11.37, and he's got 3 strikeouts this season.
So not a strikeout pitcher, so someone who's going to likely create a lot of contact. This is a very fast top of the lineup for the Jumbos. If they can keep the ball on the ground, they could beat some things out, get runners on, cause some chaos.
Second pitch lined straight to the second baseman, Blake, and Fleckner comes up and has a very hard first out of the 8th.
Yeah, and, I mean, that has not been uncommon today for the Jumbos. It seems whenever they get on base, it's kind of less hard hit than when they line into outs. As thinking back to the end of the bottom of the 7th with that line out there by Ben Leonard.
Here's McKiernan, 0 for 3 on the afternoon. Flew out to center his last time up. It's been less about runners left on base for the Jumbos and just hard hit balls being caught for outs. The 0-1 is fouled back, quickly 0-2.
Yeah, of course, we've seen a bunch of those balls go out to that outfield and been really pretty well defended. Honestly, quite a few by center fielder Breon Parker out there. He's played an important defensive role for the Beacons in today's game.
1-2.
That pitch, a lot of horizontal movement, trying to draw a chase from McKiernan. The sophomore able to lay off it.
Ferrari sets and fires, pitch is grounded foul. McKiernan, once again, coming into this one with an on-base percentage of .500. You don't see that every day, but has not gotten on base so far today. Looking for it here in his 4th plate appearance. Here's the 1-2, and McKiernan will stay alive.
Yeah, Ferrari, shorter frame than most of the pitchers in the D3 game, but definitely a lot of pop in it. That fastball in the 90s.
Count goes to 2-2. Only 1 out here in the bottom of the 8th. It's 6-3 in favor of the Beacons. Jumbos need 3 runs to come back and force extras at the very least.
Real good QAB here from McKiernan. Got himself down 0-2. Fought off 2 pitches that would have been strikes. Seen 2 balls. Now we'll see pitch number 7.
McKiernan can get on. They have Pena and Flavin due up. Those have been 2 batters that have given UMass Boston a little bit of trouble today.
And McKiernan giving trouble here to Ferrari, refusing to let him spoil the afternoon.
We see Cianciolo, one of the better relievers here for the Beacons, in the bullpen. You'd expect him to be primed to pitch the 9th if the lead holds. Here's the 2-2 on that outside corner, and McKiernan has worked the count full.
Great take there for McKiernan. That's recognizing the spin on the ball, as that one looked to have been a strike but was tailing away the whole way.
Here's the payoff. Swung on, line right to the first baseman, but Burris will drop it. It's going to be a play at the bag, and they got him. A diving Burris beats out a diving McKiernan, and that's the 2nd out of the 8th.
Yeah, that one looked like it belonged a little bit more in Hamilton Pool than here on Gittleman Park. 2 players diving for a bag. In the end, the Beacons a little bit quicker get the 2nd out.
Looked like it could have been another hard line out to Burris over at first base, but ended up dropping it. Not mattering, though, as the first pitch is swung on and grounded to 2nd from Pena. Blake makes the play, and that'll do it. A 1-2-3 inning for Brendan Ferrari. And the Jumbos still trailing by 3.
For the Jumbos in the bottom of the 8th inning, no runs, no hits, no UMass Boston errors, and no runners left on base. We go to the 9th inning, scheduled to bat for UMass Boston. It'll be Aiden Blake, Brendan Beer, and Elliot Miles.
3 outs.
Heading into the 9th here on JumboCast, UMass Boston putting up a strong offensive performance, 6 runs off of 11 hits off against what effectively a jumbo bullpen day as they warm up their arms before NESCAC play begins against Bowdoin. And here in the 9th is one of the stronger relievers for Tufts and Robert Gray.
Yeah, Robert Gray, the jumbo, who's probably most likely to break the radar gun, can top out at 96, getting some action. Only 4 innings so far this year coming into today.
And has the heart of the UMass Boston order to deal with. It'll be Blake, Gear, and Meager.
Blake has given the Jumbos fits today, 2 for 3, 2 RBIs.
Including that home run his last time up in the 7th. High fly ball, deep right field. Going back is Pena, giving chase, and it just sails foul. Blake thought he got another one right there, and it looks like he'll be sent right back to the batter's box.
The fence on that right field line is 310. If it's 305, that's a home run.
Just to the right of that foul pole, and a very long strike for Aiden Blake.
And we're being told here in the press box that Aiden Blake may not have gotten a home run, but he definitely got some damage to a car in the parking lot.
Is that your consolation prize?
Told you, carnage cam. Be pretty good.
I don't know if it's my consolation prize, but Blake can take it home with him. Pick up some shards of broken glass on his way back to the bus.
0-2 to Blake. Gray's pitch is outside, 1-2. Aiden Blake continuing his incredible season, had an OPS of 1.2 coming into this game. That number is sure to go up after the 2 hits. Soft ground ball to short. Going to be a tough play for Fleischer, running into it and firing over to first. And that's an out. Really nice play by Fleischer, and there's one down here in the 9th.
Blake there over to the bag super fast, though. I had a feeling he might get it. He doesn't. But it is definitely pretty close to a tie goes to the runner scenario. In this case, obviously, does not go to the runner, but.
Stepping in here is Gear. And I really do think there are only 2 shortstops in all of the NESCAC who can make that play. There's Ozzie Fleischer, and then on the other side, there's Josie Steinberg, who we will see in 2 days as the Jumbo softball team makes their season opener on Friday.
Some rain in the schedule. We'll see what exactly happens there, but we're hoping.
Be optimistic, Andrew.
We're hoping that we get some softball played in just a couple of short days.
Hoping it occurs on Friday, not later in the weekend, obviously.
The 1-1 to Gear. Oh, that plunks him on the shoulder. Got to sting a little bit, but you're going to take it for a free base.
And I'll tell you what, that's not fun. There is no one whose fastball is going to hurt more than Robbie Gray's, especially on a cold day here in Medford.
I mean, the weather not too terrible. It could have been substantially worse, I will say.
Plays like that makes me happy. I'm out here in the booth instead of on the field.
Listed as 53 in Medford right now. Not sure if that's entirely accurate given humidity and everything, but
I can tell you, having stepped out in between innings, that it is not 53 out there. It is maybe a 40-degree wind chill if we're being very, very ambitious rounding up. Derek Hawley going to pinch hit here for the Beacons.
Pinch runner on first. Mike Meager stepping into the plate. 1 for 3 with a single back in the 5th inning. Derek Hawley leading off at first base. The pitch from Gray is fouled back.
Obviously right now Mike Meager hoping he can get a big hit in the air and see if he can send it somewhere in the outfield where the Jumbos obviously aren't.
Strong lead off of first base from Hawley as that ball sails upstairs for a 1-2 count.
Yeah, but I think that is one thing about Robbie Gray is his fastball is so fast that unless you know it's going to be an off-speed pitch, you almost can't run on him.
They check him over at first.
Safe there, though.
Due up for the Jumbos in the 9th. Got some good bats. Pena, Flavin, and Solomon. Or sorry, Flavin, Solomon, and Whitfield will be the ones to try and keep the Jumbos alive with their last licks.
Another Jumbo pitcher obviously warming up in the bullpen to keep the trend going if the Jumbos can make it to the bottom of the 9th inning.
2 balls, 2 strikes here in the top of the 9th.
Great stop there by Whitfield.
Again, as I talked about earlier, Whitfield has done a really good job this season of keeping the ball in front of him. In today's game, I've only seen it gone through his legs twice, and you know, shows that's definitely part of the Jumbo's defensive squad is keeping that ball in front of him.
Did they get him? Oh, just
I thought
missed.
they got him. Tell you what, Connor Flavin was sure they had got him.
It's a nice throw over from Gray.
I would not be surprised if he goes here. 3-2, 1 out. Great situation to send a runner.
Here's the payoff. And Meager fouls that one back into the parking lot. The drivers here in the stands hold their breath and hope it wasn't them. The count's still full. Robert Gray is going to fire here on a 3-2. Just upstairs, and a hit by pitch and now a walk to Meager will put 2 base runners on with 1 down.
Yeah, and a big opportunity here for Miles stepping in. 1 for 4 on the day. Has hit into some pretty hard hit outs here. And really, you get the feeling that a hit bringing in a run here probably would be just too much for the Jumbos to get back.
I would think you'd be right on that one, Riley. Especially, for example, if that hit can bring 2 runners home, then I think that lead gets a little too out of the hands of the Jumbos.
Meager does have a triple on the season as well as 1 stolen base. The 0-1 to Miles is upstairs.
Yeah, Hawley having some fun dancing off second base there. Fairly confident that Gray is not going to try and pick him off.
Admittedly, a bit of a difficult pick for a right-handed pitcher.
The 1-1 breaking ball in there, and the count goes to 1-2.
I'll tell you what, I like the Jumbos, but that was a generous call.
Yeah, I would kind of agree. I honestly thought that one was a little outside.
We've seen the Jumbos continue to nibble on that outside corner against these right-handed bats. Here's the 1-2. Whitfield with another nice stop, and the count evens up.
Not to go there, Andrew, but can an elephant nibble?
I don't know.
So
Normally they bring the food in through their trunk.
There's
so
a
I'd
reason I'm a
imagine it's
humanities student and not a STEM one, and that's the answer.
It's biology STEM. I guess so. It's science.
Science, yeah, biology would fit under science. I would have to agree with you there, Riley.
2-2 with 1 down. They're going to try the inside move again, and it gets past Fleischer, but just barely.
Ooh.
Hawley's going to stay there at second. That was another close call.
Hawley thought about it. He took a couple steps to his right to move towards third and then decided against it as you see a absolutely sprinting Henry Fleckner to back them up there.
What's crazy is that pickoff move was so good, if it's caught, he's probably out.
I would have to agree with you there. It was really effective.
Swing and a miss as Miles will go down on strikes. And there's now 2 down, 2 on, and a new batter coming up to the plate here for the Beacons. It'll be number 4, Mariano Jimenez.
Yeah, he was one that you were a little bit surprised when we were looking at the starting lineups, Andrew, that was given the day off. But we had a feeling that if it was a close game, he was one who was very likely to be a pinch hitter. Unfortunately, he's going to have to wait a little bit. Jumbo's going to make a pitching change. Robert Gray not happy about it.
In comes freshman Gabe Fitzgerald.
And I guess that's a sign of obscene trust in the freshman to put him on 2 outs, 2 runners on in a situation where you really cannot afford to allow any more runs to come home.
Fitzgerald, the freshman, has appeared earlier on in the season. I believe his last game was against MIT, or one of his first games, I should say, against MIT. Was actually put in a very similar situation into that game. Had a bases-loaded situation, allowed was able to escape it, I believe, but then the next time he was out there, allowed 3 earned runs to score off of 4 hits. Also had a appearance against Pomona Pitzer on the 17th, where he went 1 inning with 2 earned runs. So far, not a ton of success, but we've seen him escape jams like this in the past.
Yeah, and I guess Svagdis has found a job for Fitzgerald. He's the one they turn to when there are runners on base, and he wants the job mopped up. We'll see if he can do what he couldn't do in that MIT game and get out of it unscathed completely.
No, it is admittedly a bit of a difficult situation to be put in, especially because, you know, if this, for example, doesn't go his way and the next Beacon batter manages to get a big hit off of one of his pitches, the Jumbos are very much probably out of this game.
I think that is a very great point, Nick. And there's a reason that runs get charged to the pitcher who let the runner on base, not the one who comes in, because as much as Fitzgerald has some effect, he was not responsible for the fact there are runners on first and second. His job right now is to get the batter out, and if he does that, he escapes this with no runs given up whatsoever.
I would agree with you there.
Here comes Mariano Jimenez, the junior out of Waltham, Mass. 53 plate appearances so far this season, hitting .222, but with a good amount of pop. 400 slugging percentage with 2 home runs and 2 doubles.
Yeah, Jimenez not one that you can afford to hang a pitch over the middle to. Means Fitzgerald's going to have to be very careful. And on deck is the other pinch hitter, Infernacci, who's already 1 for 1 on the day, so not really any place to put Jimenez.
The 1-0 swung on and fouled back right into the top of the net.
We know Jimenez is a player who's not afraid to swing and not afraid to make a big impact offensively on games. Clearly, he's being put in the position right now where it's likely he might do that.
Jimenez in a bit of a slump. Only 1 game with a hit in his last 9. Pops that one up to Connor Flavin at first base, and Fitzgerald's going to be able to work out of that jam. Forces a pop-up to the pinch-hitting Jimenez, and will send the Jumbos to the bottom of the 9th.
Puts the pressure on the bats of the Jumbos.
It has been, I believe, almost 2 years since the Jumbos went to the bottom of the 9th, down exactly 3 runs to Saul Goodman Field. That one, if you may remember, ended rather spectacularly. We'll see if they can do something similar when we come back for the bottom of the 9th. Stay tuned.
Last chance for the Tufts Jumbos to tie this one up. Non-conference play between UMass Boston. This will be the last non-conference game that Tufts plays before heading up to Maine for the start of NESCAC action against Bowdoin for a 3-game set. They'll have to face off against one of the stronger relievers for this season on the side of UMass Boston. That's Tim Cianciolo, the righty graduate student, standing tall at 5'11", making another outing. This is his 6th appearance. Has gone scoreless in every appearance that he's had this season except for one. That one being a 2-inning appearance against Lewis and Clark on March 9th, where he allowed 5 earned runs off of just 2 hits. But definitely somebody who is trusted in the organization. A ton of strikeouts to boot. 4 strikeout appearances in the 3 out of the 5 outings that he's had so far.
Jumbos definitely have some bats coming up to bat in this ninth who have been in this situation before. You look at Connor Flavin, Patrick Solomon, who's had some big moments here on Gittleman, Whitfield, then Jesse McCullough, and if they can get to Ozzie Fleischer, you get the feeling they would be in a good spot.
Defensive changes, Jimenez over in left field, replacing Levitt. And the first pitch from Cianciolo is swung on and missed, strike one to Connor Flavin.
Connor Flavin needs to be reminded you cannot cut a 3-run deficit 2-0 with one swing. A little too ambitious there.
Just dotted on that outside corner, and the count goes to 0-2.
Not a great start for Connor Flavin here. He needs to get on base for the Jumbos, ideally in a better scoring position than first.
Had a single in the second inning. The pitch to Flavin in the dirt, and the count goes to 1-2.
Really, really smooth there from Yeager.
It'll be Flavin, Solomon, and then Whitfield. Good thing about the Jumbos, very consistent order, 1 through 9, so you never feel like you're in that bad of a position. And so, a lot of opportunities still, despite them being down 3. Swung on and fouled back, and as Flavin keeps himself alive.
Flavin
Just
got, the tiniest piece.
Barely managed to get a cut of that one.
Jumbos need at least 2 base runners before the tying run comes to the plate. Here's the 1-2. Just up. And that evens the count up at 2.
And even in the press box, we can hear the groans from the UMass Boston dugout. They thought that was strike 3.
It's a decent pitch for Flavin to turn on if he sensed the breaking ball coming, but instead a nice take, and that'll bring the count back to 2-2. Swung on and missed. On the outside corner, Flavin down on strikes, and Cianciolo picks up his first K of the ninth.
Great pitch there. Just dropped out from under it. And didn't matter if Flavin could have guessed that that was off speed. He guessed that it was up. It ended up down, and he got nothing but air.
Brings up Patrick Solomon to try and get the momentum going for the Jumbos.
Solomon with a run scored back in the 7th after the RBI double from Jesse McCullough brought him all the way around from first.
First pitch forces Solomon to lean back a little bit on his inside.
Line drive left field. Jimenez doesn't have to move an inch. Right into his glove, and that's the second out of the inning.
And the Jumbos just running out of outs, and seemingly in the last 3 or so innings, every single out has been a hard-hit ball right at a Beacon defender.
You know, it's a little unlucky for the Jumbos. They're making good contact with the ball, and it's going out to the outfield, but it's just not in the right spots. The Beacons have done a good job at either just standing where the ball's going or just being there.
Jumbos down to their last out, and right now it's Malcolm Whitfield to try and save the day. Flares into right field, going back and making the play is the leadoff hitter, Justin Gavea, and that's going to do it here at Gittleman. Final score, UMass Boston 6, Tufts Jumbos 3. The first win in 3 seasons for the Beacons, and they do it on the Tufts home field.
Yeah, you cannot say it was not deserved. Ethan Hunt, just a phenomenal performance. When you get 7 innings of 2-run baseball from your starter, you're going to be in a good spot. And the Jumbos really, they played well, but when you start in a hole and you're chasing the whole game, it's just so much harder emotionally, mentally. And it seems that game really turned on that home run from Aiden Blake. The Jumbos had gotten it to 3-2, and then Blake went yard, re-extended the lead, and it just felt from that point on that the Beacons were just destined to win this baseball game.
I would kind of agree with you there, Riley. It seemed like a game that, to be fair, started in the direction and in the momentum of the Beacons, and then really with that home run from Aiden Blake gets really sealed. And it's obviously a hard game for the Jumbos to come back with, especially given that they shuffled out a ton of different pitchers during that game. So there's not a lot of chance for the Jumbos defense to get any consistency going, which is obviously difficult. And then that leads to a lot of the pressure being on the Jumbos offense, which it is. And unfortunately, the Jumbos offense falls just a tad short in today's matchup.
Got a lot of looks from a lot of arms as the Jumbos will fall to 8-8 on, or 7-7, I should say, on the season. 3-3 here at Gittleman Park. UMass Boston jumping up to 9-7. That's 2 games over 500. They'll have one more non-conference game against Western New England before starting off their Little East Conference season. Jumbos again heading over to Bowdoin this weekend to start off NESCAC play. We can't wait to be right back with you next time there on Gittleman Park at home.
Before we sign off, we'd love to remind all of you that we here on JumboCast aren't going anywhere this weekend. We hopefully will be on Spicer Field Friday afternoon. Andrew, you'll be on that one, assuming the rain stays away. I'll be there with you. And then, of course, rain or shine, we will be on Bellow Field Saturday afternoon for some men's lacrosse, Tufts versus Colby, as the spring season really gets underway this season. All 4 teams in action.
From all of us here at JumboCast, Jordan Burke, our producer, Nick Dorr, and Riley Daniel on the mic with me, thank you so much for tuning in for coverage of Division III baseball. Jumbos fall 6-3. They'll be back at Gittleman in just a couple of weeks. I've been Andrew House signing off, and thank you very much for watching, and stay home safely.